crazy and dumb. She put a carrot in her.
Whoa, do tell.
Yeah, she said, oh, this carrot's like my boyfriend's. I'm gonna rub it all over my. I'm so gross. Then she ate it like Bugs Bunny.
What a hot mess. Hey, Emma, get it together, girl. Tyler, you are breaking news as always.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. Welcome to the program. You can dial and join us here. Our number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And in the studio tonight, we've got Ian and Chris.
And TJ the Spy coming back from Colorado, passing through New Hampshire to talk to all of you.
Special guest host TJ is back. Thank you for coming back to join us.
My pleasure,
tonight.
brother. Always glad to be back in the Shire.
Well, it was a pleasant surprise to discover that you were here. You didn't bother to tell me you were here until last night. I'm like,
yes,
well, you know.
well, as you know, I was coming through hoping to speak at the Chris Cantwell sentencing hearing. But unfortunately, they've continued that, so I came up here.
You didn't get the memo.
I didn't get the memo in time, but that being said, I'm glad that I'm here, and I love sharing the ideas of liberty with everyone here because I discovered living in Denver, there aren't a lot of libertarians there. Like, there's Democrats and Republicans.
Wait a minute. You had to live there to find that out?
Wait a minute. Isn't Denver one of the places that are supposed to be like libertarian utopia kind of like that's what it gets sold as?
It's very much a taxi, highly regulated. The city of Denver has a lot of homeless people around the Capitol building. You go downtown. That's why I quit doing Uber and Lyft. I was getting afraid. Yes, I was afraid. Like when the COVID started, and especially with the riots, I was afraid as I was driving people around town that I could get caught in a riot in Denver. Because you remember the Elijah McClain happened in Aurora where we were living.
Who's that?
He was a black gentleman that got. They applied a chokehold to him, he passed away. And it looked like. I won't go into it because it's a long story. But they had a bunch of riots. They burned down the police station and they attacked the courthouse out in Aurora. So it was I said it was kind of scary, because I was scared driving around Denver. Like I could be downtown, and if there's a riot or one of those, like you saw those riots over the summer, I was getting scared to do my job. So I quit and said I'm not going to work if there's a chance I could get caught in a riot or have to defend myself. And you saw what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse, so you move to defend yourself, and
you go to prison. Now, he did get bailed out, I think, finally, but wasn't it like $1 million bail?
$2 million bond, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All for self-defense in that case. So, so Denver, not exactly a freedom-friendly place.
No, in fact, we just passed a bunch of unfriendly tax increases. They have a 30% tax on e-juice for the e-cigarettes. They called it the nicotine tax loophole, so they amended that. It's just, and there's, as I said, it used to be San Francisco and L.A. were the pits. You'd go and there was just homeless people everywhere. But Denver is going that way too. You'll go downtown and there are just tents on the sidewalk everywhere. And you go to the Capitol building and there are just, it's like, I refuse to go into the Capitol building because you have to walk through a homeless encampment to get there. So do you really want to walk? I mean, I don't mean to talk badly about the homeless, but the people that are homeless tend to be severely mentally ill and need a lot of help.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're not getting it.
And I'm willing to help some people, but I cannot solve the homeless problem on my own.
No.
So
it's a big problem.
It's a big problem, yeah.
So you're back here in New Hampshire. You came up to testify, you say, at Chris Cantwell's
hearing.
One
of the reasons, yes. I was hoping on the 22nd, tomorrow.
Which was already delayed. It was going to be like the 6th, and then they moved it to the 22nd, and then they moved it to next month at the 24th, I think. February 24th is when it's expected next month.
Yeah. So I'll probably end up just writing a letter. I'm hoping he gets time served. For those who don't know, Christopher Cantwell used to be a host here on the show.
Right. Yeah, I was going to do a recap, but please, I would love for you to explain who Christopher Cantwell was.
And Christopher Cantwell, and he had to be let go for being an overt racist on the radio. And he started.
He wasn't originally a racist. I would like to point out.
He changed somehow, and it was just like. I don't know.
Well, now that's a good question as to why he became the racist Chris Cantwell.
Because some people say it's like, it's his attempt to attract the feds, like he's an informant, and so his job he was an act. Like his persona, his comedy persona was an act to try and attract FBI people the FBI might be interested in.
There has long been a theory that Christopher Cantwell is a federal informant.
Yeah.
However, I don't personally buy it. I don't think that he was. I think that he was an angry libertarian comedian who, when he moved here, I think it was in 2012, back when he first made the move to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project, he moved here to Keene, and I believe the FBI was investigating him at the time. Because of his very angry, anti-police, pro-violence towards police rhetoric, that he was attracting the attention of the FBI, but I don't think he was actually working for them at that time. Now, later on, when he became racist Chris Cantwell, he did later speak to the FBI on his own volition, and he was rightfully, upsetting people as a result of that. Like he should not have spoken to the FBI.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
And ultimately, it was what sent him up the river and got him convicted of this most recent 2 total BS charges that were brought against him for essentially having a conversation with another horrific
having a nasty
racist
conversation that wasn't even that nasty. And basically the story goes, there was a guy named Benjamin Lampert in St. Louis, where I'm from, and he was a Confederate flag waving, gun toting kind of guy, and
AKA Cheddar Maine.
Cheddar Maine, that was his
handle.
That was his handle. Actually, no, Cheddar Maine was Cesar Alvarez. And
really?
This was
who was the Ben guy?
Benjamin Lampert. I forget his online name.
That was Cheddar Maine.
But he was threatening Benjamin Lampert to get Cheddar Maine's info.
Oh, that's right. He was like the Ben guy was an intermediary.
Yeah, Ben guy was the intermediary. But Ben, the victim in this case, the guy that Chris,
the quote-unquote victim.
The quote-unquote victim that allegedly,
who, by the way, never reported this happening to him.
He never went to the victim never went to the FBI. The victim never said, Chris Cantwell threatened me and I demand justice. It was the FBI. They sent 4 agents to St. Louis to interview this guy and said, did Chris Cantwell threaten you? And by the way, we have you making equally nasty statements. So, if you don't play ball with us, you might be going to prison too. So I totally think the FBI coerced the victim into making a cooperating
to
and testify against Chris.
So, I mean, just to rewind a little bit more here, what was happening was Chris Cantwell had become this racist guy, which was sad, and that's why we had to get rid of him off as a co-host of Free Talk Live. But he wasn't originally. But when he'd become that, he went into this racist world, which is just full of these nasty, ugly characters.
Yes,
many of whom are actually worse than Chris Cantwell, because Chris Cantwell was known for being an a-hole. He used to actually have that on his business card.
Honestly, I mean, I interviewed him on the show, and he certainly
on your show, Freedom Decrypted.
Yeah, on Freedom Decrypted, and he certainly, and I knew him before this, a little bit,
right?
But he's definitely like racist, but he's not. He's kind of like, I don't want to say boring, but he's kind of like mundane in terms of what I think of as like he's certainly not this dangerous individual that the government's making.
He talks a big game, but when you actually push come to shove, he's quite gentle.
And the whole thing is like, I don't know a single gay guy or black person that is like afraid of this guy. I mean, he's how would you describe him, TJ? Because I certainly am not running for my life.
The thing that I like about Chris, James and I, my husband, we both watch or listen to Chris Cantwell before he got thrown in prison, because it's kind of like watching Jackass. When a guy does something to himself and you're like, I could totally see this coming, and you just watch him kick himself in the shins.
It's sad. It's more sad. Like, I pity him more than anything else, I think.
Well, that being said, I don't think he deserves 20 years in prison for being nasty to somebody.
No, he doesn't
internet.
deserve a year, and he's actually been sitting there a year, just waiting to get through this whole trial situation. So he was in this world of these racists and was amongst these people who are just as bad, if not worse, than he is, as far as being just nasty humans. And he got into a fight with a group of them that called themselves the Bull Patrol. And the Bull Patrol was so named after a murderer named Dylan Roof, who went in, you may recall years ago, a young person went in and shot up a church. I believe it was in South Carolina. And this person had a bull haircut. as they call it, bowl cut. And so this bowl patrol group was a group of racists who had named themselves sort of in honor of this sick murderer, Dylan Roof. And they targeted Chris Cantwell. First, they were friendly with Chris, and then they turned against him because there was all this infighting in the racist movement, which turns out all kinds of movements have infighting. But and so they were targeting Chris, and Chris was like kind of coming back at them. And now Chris was trying to figure out who this Cheddar Main, one of their leaders, was. And that's where the conversation happened on Telegram between Chris and this other guy. And that's what led to Chris being charged and now convicted and awaiting sentencing. We'll tell you more coming up. Free Talk Live.
Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Bane Books at banebooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live, you may dial in here here at 603-283-6160 and join us. You can bring up anything you want, although we're just kind of doing a catch-up here with TJ the Spy, who is back with us. It's been a couple of years now since you've been on the show. I think you dropped in when you came to visit last time.
Yeah, the last time I think I was at PorkFest 2018, and I think I did the show there. And I've called in a few times, but...
Well, we miss you, man.
Well, I miss you guys, too, because it's fun hanging out here. Like, if you're a libertarian and you're tired of the government BS and having to deal with it and all the forms that go along with it, coming out to New Hampshire and experiencing the freedom that we have going on here in Keene and on around the state, people actually fighting the government in their own special way and fighting back. And just it's wonderful and refreshing to see, like a breath of fresh air to see people, at least trying to resist the government.
We had another...
You can't do it alone, right? So you can resist to a certain point, but eventually you're gonna end up like Christopher Cantwell. Not that he was fighting the government, but
he was fighting other Nazis.
You're gonna end up in a cage, and so you got to have new blood coming in. But if you have enough new blood coming in, enough people supporting you, you actually have an effect. And that's what's so awesome about New Hampshire.
Yeah, we actually had a new guy tonight that was visiting. He had actually come to the Porcupine Freedom Festival last year, but now he had come back and he's starting to look at properties to purchase. He's going to sell his property in West Virginia and make the move up here. He said he was targeting the Porcupine Freedom Festival this year as his move date. So he wants to sell his old house and then buy a new place up here. And man, I was telling you, TJ, we've been having visitors here. I think it's almost every week. At least every 2 weeks. Like at least every 2 weeks, there's somebody fresh, somebody new here.
Definitely. We've even had some large groups come up,
we have,
together
which
as a group that people don't even know each other.
Yeah,
getting
amazing.
together to come and visit just to check out the area and see, what it's like here.
Yep. So if you want to learn more about the migration, you can go to move.shiresociety.com. There's a little bit of information there. But more importantly, just come on up to New Hampshire and check things out. So let's get back into this Chris Cantwell story, though, since you've been following it pretty closely, TJ, maybe even closer than I have. I've been pretty closely following the situation as well. I attempted to actually attend his trial, but they wouldn't let me.
Yeah, without the mask.
Without wearing.
I actually saw you in Pacer on the Pacer docket. It said Ian Freeman, interested party.
Yeah. I tried to go in, but they wouldn't let me. Even though I have a medical exemption, they said that, well, we'll let you in without a mask, but you have to wear a mask in order to get to the special room that we'll set aside for you. They were going to give me my own little viewing room away from everybody else, but they said you still have to wear a mask while you're walking through the corridors of the building. I'm like, well, I can't wear a mask. I'm exempt from wearing a mask. So the whole point of me telling you I can't wear a mask is that I'm not going to wear a mask. So you telling me to wear a mask through the hallways is not going to work. And then it was just like, that's the end of that. You can't come in. And the only thing I could do at that point would be to sue them, based on that decision, which I'm not going to do. Actually, I'm already suing them.
And then you're going to be in front of a judge who just ordered you to wear a mask. I told you have to wear a mask.
Or a different judge. Probably not the same judge.
Maybe not, but the other judge is going to do the same damn thing probably. So it's,
Well, the thing is, I already have a case that's open in that particular courthouse. So anyway, Chris Cantwell, the formerly libertarian, no longer is he a libertarian. He has completely embraced statism, became a Nazi, and sadly, now he's facing 25 years in prison on so-called interstate extortion and interstate threatening charges, felony charges, that he got because he was having a fight with some other Nazis.
Yes.
And the federal government, you mentioned this, TJ, that the guy who he was fighting with, who is just as despicable, if not more so, than Cantwell, the guy he was having a spat with online, that guy didn't actually report what Chris had done.
Correct.
It was a federal agent who was monitoring this Bull Patrol group, this group of Nazis, this nasty group of people. This federal agent was monitoring their communications. He was in some sort of Bull Patrol chat room, and he saw this guy, what was his name, Ben Lambert?
Benjamin Lambert is his name in St. Louis.
Posted messages in this chat room of his conversation with Cantwell.
Yes.
And so the agent who is in that room rang up whoever it was that he called within the FBI and said, look, check this out, Chris Cantwell, blah, blah, blah. And then that's when they came down on him with these criminal charges.
Yeah.
So,
my take on the Chris Cantwell case, because everybody's probably going, why did they go after Cantwell? I think it's a red flag law. Since we don't have a red flag law here in New Hampshire, I think the FBI wanted to get his guns out of his possession.
Really?
That's my theory.
But why?
Because
I mean, there's a ton of people out there that
are crazy and have guns.
Yeah.
But I think Chris, after he did that Vice piece with El Reeve, where he went on national TV and said, "Brr, brr, brr," I
started throwing out guns from his
like 5
or 10 guns on him.
He's not afraid, and that's
how he got the moniker, the crying Nazi, because he's out there all tough, and then the next day he's like,
he got
pepper spray.
Yeah, he was not afraid, and that's the thing. When you're not afraid, that's when they target you.
I don't know. It's just so weird because, look, it seems like the FBI doesn't want the Nazis to fight with each other, because otherwise, like, why wouldn't you want, like, if you were against the Nazis, why wouldn't you want them fighting each other? Now you're going to take one of the Nazis away who was one of the most divisive
because
of them.
They're doing it for the dollar. I mean, they're paid to. They have to make it look like they're doing something. The feds, the government, everybody who works for government, basically, especially as some sort of law enforcement officer, has to make it look like they're doing something. They don't care whether or not anything actually results. They just have to make it look like they're doing something. Whether it's the prosecutor or the judge or the lawyer or you have to make it look like you're doing something.
So, do you think then, TJ, that he may only get time served if you believe that their goal was to just simply
de-arm him? Because like once you're a convicted felon under
right, and he is now.
Yeah, he's a convicted felon under 18 USC section.
He had to sell all his guns, by the way. But before the trial, he had to sell them to settle up with his landlord.
But once you're a convicted felon, you can't purchase or have in your possession a firearm or a round of ammunition.
Other weapon, for that matter. I think a lot of
the federal statute says gun.
Really?
A specific means a gun or a rifle pistol ammunition. So you can't have like.
Now, could he still have like a black powder rifle from the 1700s or something like that?
Yes, he could. There's an exemption for CNR, curios and relics.
Gotcha.
So my view on it is, why did the FBI go after Chris in the first place? When why didn't they go after Benjamin Lampert? Why didn't they go after Cesar Alvarez? Why didn't they go after all these other people who said equally nasty things? And I think the answer was they were like, oh, well, this guy's a little unhinged, Christopher Cantwell. We'll take away his guns. How can we do that? They sent out 4 agents from the Boston field office to St. Louis to interview the victim, the alleged victim.
4 agents.
That's very unusual to send somebody from a Boston field office to another, because normally you would just have...
You have the local boys.
The St. Louis field office would go to interview the guy. But this was something that's just... The whole case was weird. I've seen a lot of cases on Pacer, a lot of federal investigations and how they play out. This was... They wanted to get him for something, and this was that something they got him on.
Well, his sentencing was supposed to happen. It's been delayed, and your intention was to go testify. What would you have said about Chris?
I had something that I was going to say, and then you and I talked about it, and he said, I don't think that would be the best way to put it. So I came up with something a little bit different, and I was going to say Chris is a comedian, first and foremost. And he, most importantly, he makes me laugh. And
I think he's got a great sense of humor.
Oh, yeah. He makes my husband laugh. And so I would ask that he be sentenced to time served because he just used words. He didn't actually...
Right.
Well,
he's been hold that thought. We'll continue. He's basically been convicted of saying a mean thing, definitely, on Telegram.
It's just a nasty thing. Yeah,
on an internet chat
same
room.
thing that happens every day on the internet.
Countless times on the internet. I mean, go on like any video game online and listen to what these teenagers are shouting at one another. More coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur, and the vet wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work, so I was at a dead end.
DINOVITE.com.
I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years. It never actually crossed my mind to try it until it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And, all right, I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on.
Dinovite is nutrition.
I wish that we would have started the Dinovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days.
DINOVITE.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
If you're looking for work, it's a process of elimination, and you're trying not to be eliminated. So here's a tip for making the cut, and this might seem subtle, but to the person interviewing you, it's not. There is a world of difference between applicants who convey, "I need a job," and those who simply ooze, "I want to work," especially in these lean times when many you're competing with will seem desperate in "I'll take anything" mode. If you convey specific interest in this job at this company, you will be conspicuous. Thus, the value of going to school on the company you're applying to before the interview. With money and attention so tight now, effective communication skills have never been more important. For more tips for job seekers and everyone else, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. The number 603-283-6160. If you want to join us here, you can. And you can bring up anything you want. We are commenting, though, right now on the Christopher Cantwell case, which is a tragic situation of a man who, well, he did self-describe as an a-hole. He used to have a business card that said anarchist, atheist, a-hole on it. So, I mean, you know, that sort of was his persona, and he just took it too far. He ended up becoming a Nazi. He really wanted to just be hated by people. He believed that that was the key to financial success in life. That was what he'd linked in his time. You know, in his life, he'd linked that the times when he said the most offensive things were the times when he got the most money. So he became the most offensive persona that he could, and now sadly is facing 25 years in prison for having an online fight with another nasty Nazi online. But before we get back into that story, I do want to say thank you to Bitcoin.com, and it is a great website with lots of good information about how to get started in the world of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, which there was a big fall in the price of Bitcoin over the last few days. In fact, we can talk about what's going on with the federal government coming up here in a little bit. I know, Chris, you had a story in relation to the federal potential crackdown on Bitcoin. We'll get into that coming up here. Whether that was a factor in the price drop, I don't know, but Bitcoin.com does have a lot of good information on how to get started. So go to Bitcoin.com, click on Get Started at the top of the page, and that is where you will learn the basics about cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Bitcoin Cash. It's definitely not too late to get involved in this technology. It's only a dozen years old at this point, and in the scheme of things, in the scheme of money, a dozen years is a drop in the bucket. Compare that to gold or silver and paper currencies. So you got to go and learn about this stuff. Go to bitcoin.com to get started there. If you're not new to Bitcoin, you can get the latest news headlines over on their news website at news.bitcoin.com. So, TJ, you were saying you were prepared to testify at Chris Cantwell, presuming you would be allowed to.
Yes. I'm assuming Chris would allow, because, generally the
court... You
court...
got a good relationship with Chris.
Well, I don't have a hateful relationship, but, he's always been very nice to me and my husband. I mean, actually, he entered... So, this is the story. James, my husband, Robin Hood Cleveland, was living with Christopher Cantwell. And I went on to Grindr, which is like a gay hookup app, and he
was in the same apartment, by the way, that got raided.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
he just wasn't living there.
Just wasn't
at the time.
Living there. I joked with him and I said, James, honey, I think we were going to get raided by the FBI no matter where we moved. So, it was just better to get it out of the way.
Was Chris the racist Chris when James was living with him, or was he sort of transitioning?
He was
to
transitioning
racist?
At that point because, what happened was I show up and I knew about Chris Cantwell. I had seen like a podcast of his or two. And I really liked him because he was this angry guy who would just say like stuff that you could tell he was like, "Rrr," and that was the whole funny thing. I was just watching this angry guy spout off about what he didn't like. I was going to testify that, Your Honor, this is a shtick. This isn't. He doesn't deserve prison. Prison is. I think the point has been made to Chris. That he shouldn't go around on the internet saying nasty things to people.
Right. Yeah, I think he spent way too much time doing sitting in jail already.
A year.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
In pretrial confinement.
Yeah, I think actually coming up in 4 days it'll be. I think he got raided on the 26th or something like that last year.
So, that's a really harsh sentence, a year of pretrial confinement for some words that you said on the internet. But anyway.
And I think I don't know if he's in solitary. He might be in population. I'm not sure. I think he's in solitary because...
Why? Yeah, well, he's a risk. People might, the inmates might attack him.
Well, yeah, and also he's pretrial confinement, so you don't know if that's a factor either. But federal prisoner, he's a federal prisoner in a like a local jail awaiting trial. Well, I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that.
I usually joke with James. I say, yeah, we're the reason Chris went off the rails because I showed up to Chris's house and I'm like, oh, hi, Chris. I'm TJ the Spy and it's nice to meet you. Well, James and I go into the bathroom together, close the door, and turn on the shower. And Chris watched this and is like, okay, strange dude I just don't know, just showed up, and he's in the bathroom with my roommate, and the shower's going. And
he didn't know that James was gay.
And he did not know that James was gay.
I don't think any of us knew that James was gay.
Yes, and that's how James came out as gay to Chris Cantwell. Was basically
he brought you over and took you into the shower?
Took me into the shower.
That's great. Now that's a story.
It is.
That's a coming out story for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I knew James was the one for me, because most guys, they want to have canoodling relations and then they leave once they're done. And James said, do you want to come over and have dinner and maybe shower together? And I said, why, yes, I would.
Sounds nice.
That was like 5 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
We've been together 5 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you would have testified at his hearing, but it didn't happen. It's been postponed. So another month, Chris is going to be waiting.
No, that's a second postponement, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was after the trial was postponed. And
right.
So, due to COVID, we can't have anything happen on time, as though the courts were ever timely with anything before this. Now it's even worse than it's ever been.
The crazy thing is that Chris was released from jail, I guess, in Charlottesville.
Yes.
And
after
then he
pleading
spent
guilty to a misdemeanor.
year and a half, I think, before he got arrested. And then they decide, he's too dangerous to be on the street, even though he had committed no violent acts.
He allegedly defended himself in this Charlottesville
No,
situation.
I'm talking about from the time that he was released from
Correct.
jail.
Yeah, he just
to the
stayed
time
at home.
that he was arrested by the FBI.
Yeah.
He did not commit any
nothing.
violent acts, and yet he's too dangerous to be released.
That's what they argued, and that's
why they
denied
held
him
him
bail.
right.
They
Denied him
bail twice.
It's absolutely insane. Yeah. This guy wasn't a danger to anybody, and yet
he said some mean things online, and he looked tough.
Right. This was not a. Yeah, I mean,
this is an attack on freedom of speech.
Yeah, this is absolutely an attack on freedom of speech.
First, they came for the Nazis. Okay,
are you going to quote Reverend
yes.
Niemeyer?
I am
definitely.
I am, because it applies. First they came for the Nazis, and
we didn't speak up because we were not Nazi. Well, we did because we're free speech people.
Well, we're unusual.
but almost no one will stand up for the Nazis because, well, they are awful, right? They're just terrible.
And when you do, you get beaten down and you don't do it again.
Well, I'll do it. I mean, I'll keep doing it. But,
I know. But most people will be beaten down and they won't do it again.
Right, because I can stand up for freedom of speech while also disagreeing with what the person is saying, which is why
that's not how other people look at it, though.
Right. Well, I was saying the other night, I was actually telling my girlfriend the story about what happened with Daryl's wife, Jackie, who lost her mind
I remember
when we were going to interview Chris. This was before he was arrested. This was back in the early 2019.
That was crazy.
Chris was. I just wanted to have him here on the after show we were doing. We were doing after shows at the time called Freer Talk Live because it was internet only, so you could say words that you couldn't say elsewhere. And so I wanted to have Chris on the show, and people started to make a big ruckus about it. Mark Edge, one of our co-hosts, threatened to threatened to leave the show, threatened to quit over me wanting to interview Chris on this after. It wasn't even on the radio show. It was on the after show. And so I called his bluff. I'm like, well, if you're going to quit the show, then nice knowing you. You can keep being the salesperson if you want or not. It's up to you. And of course, Mark didn't quit the show, thank goodness. But that's what he threatened to do. That's how serious it was getting before I had him on. I'm like, well, look, this is my belief is if you say something that is ugly, if you say things that are despicable, that bad speech should be responded to with more speech. That we should have the conversation rather than try to shut it down, rather than try to stop a person from speaking.
The problem is that you're living based on principle and you don't care about the consequences. Mark cares about the consequences. And I can kind of see it from his perspective a little bit, but
what's the consequence to be known for freedom of speech?
The consequences are you lose potential radio stations, you lose potential advertisers.
I've lost radio stations before.
I know. I agree, and I'm on your side. I think the reality is people take this stuff way too seriously.
They do.
The consequences, and the consequences are not usually losing everything, unless of course you're working for like an employer or somebody else. Like, if you're working for somebody else, I understand a little bit more. Because they're going to fire you, right?
Yeah, you've got to appease the employer.
When you're working for yourself, most of the time the consequences are probably going to be nothing at all, because the people to the extent that you're talking about it on the radio, maybe there'll be some stations that you lose, but it's still worth it when it comes to preserving freedom of speech.
We're going to continue here. If you want to weigh in, whether it's on Nazis versus Nazis or freedom of speech or whatever you want to discuss. Plus, coming up, this Janet Yellen character at the she Federal Reserve or Treasury or something?
Treasury Secretary.
Yeah, we'll get into that coming up here in a moment. And she's threatening Bitcoin. It's all on the way on Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
Do you think it's a respectable job to go around and threaten people over parking somewhere?
You're intentionally misrepresenting what a parking attendant does.
What do they do?
I don't think they threaten people in that manner. They write tickets.
What do you think a ticket is?
Annoying.
The ticket's a threat.
This is why I think you come off so bad in those videos. This is not how people act in the real world. It's very unusual.
The parking enforcers are issuing threats, and that's what a ticket is. If you don't pay the ticket, there's a consequence behind that. They'll tow your car. In some cases, they'll boot your car. It depends on what city. The people that work downtown, a lot of them loved the Robin Hooders because the Robin Hooders would regularly save. These are the people who are putting change in expired parking meters downtown. They would regularly save downtown denizens, people who are working or living downtown, from getting multiple parking tickets every month.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealestate.com
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Open phones, as always. If you want to weigh in, you can join us here at 603-283-6160. Coming up, this Janet Yellen character has returned, and she is bad news if you like the idea of cryptocurrency. She's on the attack, and she may be appointed to the Treasury Secretary. I think
yes, she is up for Treasury Secretary. She used to be the head of the Federal Reserve.
That's where I knew her name from. She's under Obama, right?
Yes, it was Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen and Alan Greenspan. The new guy, I forget who the new guy is, but anyway.
Some scumbag. I don't know. They're all awful.
They're all going to print the money to destroy our economy. And by the way...
And by the way?
I said, by the way, if you don't have gold and silver and crypto, you should totally be buying those things because our dollar is going to go through the floor.
It already is. I mean, look at what happened to the price of Bitcoin just in the last 4 months.
How is it going to be noticed? Because, didn't all these other governments also do basically the same thing?
Sure.
So isn't everybody's, fiat currency going to basically collapse?
Yeah.
So comparison-wise, they're going to be like, oh, nothing happened, right?
Well, no, you'll see the price of Bitcoin likely continue to go up over time.
Prices of all the commodities
but comparing it to other currencies, it's not going to look like it's changed, right?
The Bitcoin price will be going up compared to other currencies as well. Well, you're talking about comparing currency to currency.
I'm talking about comparing U.S. dollars to euros, right? They're both going to go down relative to Bitcoin and crypto and gold and things like that.
Yeah, likely. I mean, the gold market is more controlled. The government and the banks can't control the Bitcoin or the crypto market like they can gold and silver. And I think that's why I think, and again, I'm not an expert on these. I'm not a investment advisor or anything like that, but I believe that the gold and silver prices are undervalued. I think they should be worth more.
And Peter Schiff would agree with you. He's one of the Austrian economists who saw the 2008 housing bubble crossing, but he's been yakking.
He also hates Bitcoin, though.
Well, he hates Bitcoin, and I'd say it's because he's an old fuddy-duddy, but his son definitely loves Bitcoin.
Oh, really?
Yes. So
that's interesting.
Peter Schiff's son, Skyler or whatever, I forget his name off the top of my head. Anyway, his son is definitely a big Bitcoin advocate.
Okay, good.
So I think it's a generational gap.
Yep.
Spencer. So his son Spencer, for his birthday, he asked for some cryptocurrency for his birthday present.
Did he get it?
He did, but not from his dad. His dad believes that Bitcoin is fool's gold. And
I've got an article about that.
Yeah, you want to go with it?
No, I want to talk about Yellen first. And I know that's what you brought in here tonight, Chris, to discuss. So let's jump into that story.
All right. So Treasury nominee. So I guess she hasn't been elected.
I mean, it's almost a guarantee that she's going to get in, right? Because the Democrats are in charge now in D.C., isn't that right? So, I mean,
Yellen.
She's a shoo-in.
Yeah, I believe. She might already have been nominated at this point. I think.
Well, she's been nominated, but whether she's been approved, that's
I'm not even sure. But I thought I might be mistaken. I don't follow any of the politics.
Yeah, it's not worth it. I mean, she's just, it's just the next thug.
It's like I have no control over it whatsoever, and I can maybe affect the politics a little bit in New Hampshire, but at the national level, zero chance.
She looks like she should be a Nazi.
Yeah. She,
I mean, I think it's a fair description of the picture that I'm looking at right here, but I don't necessarily,
Well, she can't be a Nazi because she's Jewish, and so that's kind of a flying.
She could be a self-hating Jew.
A self.
Yes.
Oh, so kind of. What was the Believer with Ryan Gosling? Or
the black KKK guy.
Yeah, the black KKK guy.
Yeah.
Well, he was. Yeah, I remember that one.
All I'm thinking of is like a couple of teachers I had in school that were like, "You better not smile in their class."
All right. So what's the lady? What's this?
Treasury nominee Yellen is looking to curtail use of cryptocurrency. So this is a story from Ars Technica, and she's got some. And this is actually interesting because there's a New Hampshire component in here.
Really?
Yeah. Cryptocurrency. I mean, it's just a minor one maybe, but cryptocurrencies could come under renewed regulatory scrutiny over the next 4 years if Janet Yellen, Joe Biden's pick to lead the Treasury Department, gets her way. During Yellen's Tuesday confirmation hearing before the Senate Finance Committee, Senator Maggie Hassan, is it Hassan, I believe?
Maggie Hassan, yeah.
Hassan?
I believe it's pronounced Hassan. It looks like Hassan, but it's pronounced Hassan.
It's Hassan, okay. So Maggie Hassan, so she's a New Hampshire rep, asked Yellen about the use of cryptocurrency by terrorists and other criminals. Now I have to wonder, is she talking about us?
No, we're not terrorists.
We're not terrorists, but we're definitely criminals.
Well, again, looking at it from her perspective, is she considering us terrorists?
I don't know. She certainly knows who, I suspect she knows who we are.
I mean, she's a New Hampshire rep, right?
She used to be the governor.
Yeah.
She was the governor before Chris Sununu, the current governor. And,
right.
And nobody and I targeted her at, it was back in I don't know if it was 2014 or which year it was, but she went to the Keene State College. She was going to be their commencement speaker at their graduation. And so we cornered her.
What did you guys do? What did you do to her that she's got such a hatred towards us now?
We read her the riot act, and we called her out over being an absolute bitch when it comes to locking people up for peaceful things like possession of drugs. And we cornered her in a way that she couldn't get away because she had to speak at this event. So she was waiting in line to get to the park. So it's like in a field on the college campus. And so there's this long line of this procession of people that are going into this field.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
I think
she couldn't just run away. She had to wait to get into the. So we just hammered her and hammered her and hammered her for like 5 minutes straight. It was pretty fun. You can find that video on the Free Keene YouTube channel. Just search for Maggie Hassan.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen it. There is so many great videos on the Free Keene YouTube channel.
It's true.
And they're on library now too, I believe. Right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
LBRY.
Yes, get those library credits.
Go ahead.
Cryptocurrencies are a particular concern, Yellen responded. I think many are used, at least in a transactions sense, mainly for illicit financing.
Not as many as the cash that's used for illegal purposes out there. The government's own currency is far more popular for illicit financing than cryptocurrency.
You kind of have to wonder, why didn't she attempt to crack down when she was governor?
Who, Hassan?
Yeah, I mean, if she was
I
so
don't think it would have
anti.
It probably wouldn't have gotten anywhere.
Well, it wasn't a threat back then. It's only become, like this is the thing. Bitcoin wasn't seen as a threat by the government until it started becoming adopted by a lot of the people. And they're like, uh-oh.
But wasn't the original use like that people found out or knew about, like Silk Road? I mean,
that was its killer app.
You think that, right? You think that would have, I don't know. It just seems so bizarre to me.
I don't think she would have gotten anywhere with it in New Hampshire because
maybe not. But she didn't come out then against it, right?
Yeah, but it was still pretty early on in the whole situation. It was probably not really well known amongst law enforcement or the executive branch. But also, she would have been up against a Republican legislature which likely had cryptocurrency advocates in it.
So she resisted, speaking out against it at the time, I guess, maybe.
I don't think she even knew what it was, would be my guess.
Maybe.
That's my guess.
Yeah. She said she wanted to examine ways in which we can curtail their use and make sure that money laundering doesn't occur through those channels. Blockchain-based financial networks are attractive to criminals because they do not require users to identify themselves, as the law requires most conventional financial networks to do. Because no individual organization controls these networks, there's no easy way for governments to force them to comply with money laundering laws. Well, that's true, but it's no different than hard currency, fiat currencies, right? So what you can do with fiat
government money,
right? With government money, right? The only difference is one is electronic, okay, and the other is not. Basically, it can be, but. And they do, banks, the cartels do use the banks to transfer money anyway, and you're going to launder money. So it's really kind of like, really weird to be, even making that argument.
They obviously want their own currency to be the only one used by criminals.
Right. There's an ulterior motive here that is, kind of...
The motive
may
is
not
to
be
paint
as easy
Bitcoin.
to see.
The motive is to paint Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as though it is the exclusive tool for criminals, and it's just it's not true.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's only a very small portion of all Bitcoin transactions that are used for criminal
legal
purposes. Yeah,
and
most of the crypto transactions that I have seen anyway have. I don't even know if I've seen any. I mean, I probably have seen an illegal transaction somewhere, but it's like. Almost 95% of them are probably legit.
The good news is, they're not going to be able to stop cryptocurrency.
No, they can't.
And we'll talk a little bit more about why that is, why they can't stop it. But what they can do is they can make life difficult for those who do want to use it for legal purposes.
Yes.
And it could have an effect.
It certainly can have an effect, but it's going to be limited in scope because once you get past a certain point, you don't need the banks.
We're going to continue here and the exchanges as well. That's where they crack down, is these sort of central points where they can put pressure on somebody. We'll get into it further coming up here in hour number 2. Your calls and thoughts are welcome at 603-283-6160, 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A renewed focus on the economy. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. President Joe Biden today using his executive powers to help shore up the nation's economy as Congress considers his nearly $2 trillion economic stimulus plan.
The first step of our American Rescue Plan is a plan to tackle the pandemic and get direct financial relief to Americans who need it the most.
Today's actions are designed to increase food aid, make it easier to claim government benefits, and protect unemployed workers. President Biden today also announcing his support for increasing the minimum wage paid to federal workers to $15 an hour.
He felt it was something that was not just right to do, but something that was necessary to do. But he has proposed a significant relief package, or package that will provide assistance to many, many Americans.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the president also wants to preserve civil service protections against political interference. President Biden's pick for defense secretary has now been confirmed by the Senate.
Retired General Lloyd Austin has been confirmed as Secretary of Defense, the first African American to hold that position. The 93-2 vote makes Austin the second cabinet nominee in the Biden administration to be confirmed. Austin retired from the Army in 2016 after serving as commander of Central Command, leading forces in the Middle East. Both the House and Senate approved a waiver to a federal law requiring at least 7 years of separation from the military before leading the Pentagon.
Fox's Jared Halpern in Washington. Baseball's great Hank Aaron has died. The man best known for breaking Babe Ruth's home record, retired in 1976 with 755 home runs and a .300 batting average. Dubbed Hammerin' Hank, his longtime team, the Atlanta Braves, said today Aaron died in his sleep. He was 86 years old. America is listening to Fox News.
Even in the new year, it's hard to start a new routine. But if you're one of the 34% of Americans who made a resolution to be less stressed, Headspace is here to help. Headspace is one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research and can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost focus, and increase your overall sense of well-being. Go to headspace.com/Fox for a free 1-month trial. This is the best deal offered right now. Headspace.com/Fox.
A major retailer is ramping up its coronavirus vaccine program.
Walmart is expanding its COVID-19 vaccine service to more locations. This week and next, it will start providing inoculations in Georgia, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, New Jersey, South Carolina, and Texas, and will also start the service in the city of Chicago and Puerto Rico. Until now, Walmart has only been offering vaccines to healthcare workers in 2 states, New Mexico and its home state of Arkansas. The retail chain says it's offering only FDA-authorized vaccines allocated by the government. Jenny Cosola, Fox News.
The former CEO of Make-A-Wish, Iowa, has been arrested on 3 felony charges, accused of embezzling tens of thousands of dollars from the charity that supports sick children. 40-year-old Jennifer Woodley is jailed on charges of first-degree theft and unauthorized use of a credit card. Prosecutors say she gave herself an unapproved $10,000 bonus and made more than 80 unauthorized purchases on the organization's credit card. Yosemite National Park remains closed after strong winds earlier this week caused millions of dollars in damage.
Toppling power lines and trees, including 2 giant sequoias. In Yosemite National Park, where a spokesman says downed trees also crushed trucks and damaged buildings, including employee homes, a boardwalk, and a bathroom, installed during a recent $40 million restoration project. Crews are working to repair power throughout the area. The closure of Yosemite National
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually.
Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait
on account. Now.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
The Tallahassee Zoo, which faced a major budget crisis. Luckily, they were able to get both, keep guests and animals happy and stay profitable.
And that's thanks to the zoo's new director, Maxwell Jeffries.
Happy to be here, thank you.
Good morning.
Now, what's the most profitable part of the zoo? The elephants, the tigers?
No, the gift shop, okay? Food court. But now the entire zoo is the gift shop. So you come to the zoo, you look around, you see something you like, make me an offer. I'm a businessman. I want to make people happy. You're probably familiar with the old saying, don't feed the animals.
Oh, right, of course.
Okay, well, that's old-fashioned thinking. At our zoo, you can feed the animals.
Anything you want?
Anything you want. Oats, eggs, batteries, you name it. And we also invented a new tiered membership system. So for your standard membership, you go to the zoo, you get to see the animals. For your gold level membership, you get to pick any two animals, make them fight each other. Yeah. And then with a platinum, you get 1 hour alone in the zoo. No questions asked. Yeah.
Wow.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Can the federal government actually crack down on cryptocurrency? It sounds like that may be coming under the Biden administration. Now, mind you, the Trump administration wasn't exactly friendly towards it either. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I'm pro-Trump, but I'm definitely not pro-government. I'm not pro-regulation. I am in favor of freedom. I'm in favor of the freedom to, choose whatever kind of currency you want to use. And the federal government does not want you to have that choice. They're according to this Janet Yellen character, who they're looking at applying, I guess she's going to be likely approved for some Treasury Secretary position, which will have some level of influence over these things. She's saying a crackdown is coming, and that's what you're going to tell us about here tonight. Chris, it's Ian, Chris, and TJ the Spy joining us again.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being here, Chris.
Always a pleasure.
So the story from ArsTechnica.com, you were sharing her comments at a hearing where she's applying for this job. She's been nominated for this position. Senator Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire started to ask her questions about what to do about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, which is used by criminals, she says.
Well, you're going to create a lot of criminals if you attempt to
outlaw it. Yeah.
And
I don't think they can.
I think they can make examples out of people.
I think
that's what they're going to do.
Yeah,
and they're going to scare people. But I don't think they're going to be able to effectively control it, because think about how many people who have it. If you've got $1 million in the bank, are you going to just surrender your $1 million when the government comes a calling? No, you're just not going to tell them about it. Probably.
Well, if you've got $1 million in the bank, they're going to take it.
I understand. All right, if you have $1 million in cash, right, and the government says it's illegal to have $1 million in cash, you're not just going to hand it over. You're not going to tell them. You're going to avoid it. And maybe, I mean, it's one of these things that it's like, nobody's going to give up everything, voluntarily. It's just not going to happen.
Well, first of all, they're not going to, I don't think they're going to have any success at actually prohibiting the ownership of cryptocurrency, because ultimately it's a free speech issue. And
it's just math, and you can't ban mathematics.
It's programming.
Government certainly tried before. But I think you're right.
I don't think it will hold up in court. As long as the United States has some semblance of freedom of speech.
Well, they're trying to get rid of that.
Well, but they haven't yet, and maybe they will. But for now, as long as that exists, they will not be able to ban cryptocurrencies. What they will do, and I think the story mentions this, is they will target the centralized exchanges.
Yes, the Coinbases, the Bitrexes,
because those are government regulated entities, and they will do whatever it is the government gang tells them to do, and that includes jumping through all kinds of ridiculous hoops.
And here, this is in where lies the problem, I think, with their strategy. So you may have an effect at strangling cryptocurrency. up to a point. But the problem is once it gets past a certain point, and it's already past that point in some areas.
Of like adoption, you mean?
Adoption, right. Yeah. You can't stop it because effectively, one, you don't control the world.
No.
Two, even within the United States. And these are global
currencies.
Right. Even in the United States, there's areas where you don't need to go to an exchange. You don't need to go to a regulated entity in order to exchange your dollars for crypto because there's so many people who already have it. You just got to show up to a crypto meeting or just with friends and family or whatever to swap between. And you can accept it too. So there's not necessarily this requirement that you go through an exchange. So yeah, you can try to, minimize people's adoption of it, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's still going to grow and expand and more people are going to continue to use it as they see other people using it.
I think what we're going to see here is the expansion of the greater usage of what are called decentralized exchanges. We've seen them coming out slowly into the marketplace over the last few years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The idea of a decentralized exchange, there's one called BISC, B-I-S-Q. Mm-hmm. There's another one called Atomic Dex that the folks over at the Komodo are working on. And I'm sure there's others I don't know about. But the reason why this is going to happen is, and I don't know if it mentions it in this story, but FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, which is a federal agency.
That's coming up in the next section, I think. Yeah.
Is it? Okay. Well, then maybe I'll just wait till we get to that part. But they're targeting exchanges already with new regulations, even without this Yellen. This was reported on before Trump left
and
office.
And the FBI has gone after people as well, but they're
going after me right now.
Yeah, well,
they haven't brought charges, but they're investigating.
But they've gone after other people, but they're not able to go after them for Bitcoin in and of itself. But that doesn't mean they can't try to get them on Bitcoin and something else, and that something else is the thing they're actually doing that's technically illegal. But the Bitcoin, they're going to plead guilty to the Bitcoin in order to get a lesser sentence. Yeah. So then the newspapers run with, people Bitcoiner. Get arrested for using Bitcoin or selling Bitcoin or whatever, and that's technically not.
And it scares people.
Right. It's not headlines really what happened. It's more of a manipulation of reality. Right. It's people were simply forced into pleading guilty to something that they technically wasn't illegal, but they pled guilty to it anyway, so there was no trial.
Correct.
And then it sounds like it's illegal, but it's technically it's not.
A good example of what you're talking about would be someone who was selling Bitcoin on a website like localbitcoins.com, and that's not illegal. That is a legal act to take a thing that you have and sell it for another thing, right? Just to sell a product for money is completely legal act, at least in the United States. But what they might have done is agreed to sell Bitcoin to somebody who told them they were a heroin dealer.
Yes.
And then after they do that, now they're guilty of money laundering.
And the thing is...
And so then what they get charged with is quote-unquote money laundering, but also running a money services business without a license.
Unlicensed MSB or...
Which they could have probably beaten that charge if that were the only charge they were coming at them with, but they aren't, so they pled guilty to the whole shebang. And
I think it's slightly different, the tactic that they're using. It's I don't think it's the MSB thing that they were going after. It was the... basically, if you sell something and you continue with the transaction where somebody's committing a crime,
that's called money laundering.
Using the using the thing that you're
But that's the one they couldn't beat. The money laundering charge, they have them dead to rights because they usually have a record of them. It's the undercover agent who says, well, I am a Russian heroin dealer.
Yes.
And
if I buy Bitcoin, I am going to use it to buy heroin.
Yeah.
And by the way, just as some friendly legal advice, if you are selling Bitcoin...
You're not an attorney, by the way.
I am not an attorney, but I give free legal advice all the time in violation of the law. I'm hoping the government...
I love that.
All right.
It's free legal advice, totally not binding, but if you are selling Bitcoin and during the course of the transaction they say, yeah, I'm going to do something illegal with it, you should immediately
turn around
say,
and walk away.
Walk away, yes, because I guarantee you may or may not be getting set up, but it's much safer just to say, look,
ain't worth it.
I have to terminate this transaction because you told me you were going to do something illegal with it. Or you told me you were going to structure it, so Title 31, Section 5324, it's illegal to take there's currency transaction reports if you do $10,000 or more at a bank. And that's not illegal, but if you attempt to avoid the reporting requirement, that is illegal. So they can go after you if you take $10,000 or more of cash and break it up into small amounts under $10,000 so that they don't trigger that report. That's called structuring, and it is a felony, and you will go to jail for it. They prosecute people and seize your money all the time.
Didn't they carve out an exception to that in recent years? I feel like
not to my knowledge, because that's what they came after me for when I was prosecuted for money laundering. It was actually structuring. They said that I took my own money, stuck it in the slot machine and got vouchers, and then took those vouchers and redeemed them for cash. And they said I was trying to avoid the filing of one of these currency transaction reports. And so it was a very serious crime. I was facing 5 to 15 years in prison for money laundering. And my attorney, thank God, he was both Jewish and very expensive. And he got me, he said, we're not pleading deal. This charge is BS. And he said, whenever I asked him, I said, I'm scared. And he said, well, don't be, because this charge is BS. We're going to beat it. And I was glad that I had a really good attorney, because I know a lot of people don't have good legal counsel out there. And it's kind of a shame.
And that's how they get away with scaring people and making them think that it's illegal to do something with Bitcoin or own it or sell it or whatever.
But it's not, and I don't think they're going to make that illegal. But what they're talking about with FinCEN, I think you like you said, it's going to get into it. Yep. The new FinCEN rules that were proposed, and this was like back in December. We're going to require the centralized exchanges to start doing even more record keeping than they already are. So when you sign up for an exchange, it's a very invasive process. They want to see your ID. They want to know, all kinds of details about you. And they ask you questions and like, where'd you get the money from? And, all kinds of stuff. They keep all these records. And now they're talking about, oh, you want to withdraw some Bitcoin from the exchange? Well, now we need you to certify that you're the owner of the address to which you're withdrawing. Or if it's not you, we need to know to whom you are withdrawing.
Yep.
That sort of thing. And so they're going to keep even more records about you. So we'll continue here. 603-283-6160, and we'll hear more about this Janet Yellen and her plans to crack down on cryptocurrency. Will it actually affect the price? Has it already? It's Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. D-I-V-I Project.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you're invited to join us. The number is 603-283-6160. That is 603-283-6160. You can join us here, bring up whatever you want. Though we're talking about cryptocurrency, and is a crackdown coming? Janet Yellen is the current appointee or the potential appointee to a political position known as the Secretary of the Treasury. She was asked some questions while she was being interviewed about this particular role, and one of the questions was about cryptocurrency and what she wanted to do about it. We'll continue with that discussion here in just a moment. But Freedom's Phoenix is a liberty-oriented news aggregation site. If you want the newest and the freshest stories and perspectives on current events from those who value liberty, freedomsphoenix.com has them. Their daily dispatch is the best way to stay up to date on science, technology, historical findings, liberty news, government overspending, and the rise of the police state. It's freedomswithinsphoenix.com. That's freedomsphoenix.com. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Chris.
And TJ the Spy.
And so, Chris, continue here with us on arstechnica.com, where the story about possible crackdown on crypto.
Yeah, so they're basically talking about the new rules that they're going to try to use to tighten
the noose.
Yeah, tighten the screws on cryptocurrency-based money laundering. Under the new rules,
which is, by the way, already illegal.
Yes.
Okay.
Money laundering is already illegal.
Yeah. Under the new rules, cryptocurrency-based exchanges would need to file transaction reports with FinCEN anytime a customer made a cryptocurrency transaction worth more than $10,000.
There's that magic number again.
Which it's kind of curious because I'm no expert on this, but there's already regulations on businesses that sell and accept cash over a certain amount.
That's right.
And so I would think that would already apply.
Well, but most of these crypto, I don't think it would, because most of these crypto transactions aren't for cash. A lot of them are for crypto to crypto, meaning that they would trade, say, Bitcoin for Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin for Dash or Litecoin or vice versa.
Because they're not involving fiat currencies.
Not at all.
So they wouldn't apply. Interesting.
They're just little digital thingies that are
being traded. So you think that they're
traded.
trying to add to the regulations to be able to go after conversion between cryptocurrencies,
That's what it sounds like to me there.
Yeah,
they're saying that if the amount of Dash that you sold for Bitcoin or vice versa is worth
the
more
way
than
they word this, it doesn't sound like that though. Let me continue.
Okay.
This would mirror existing rules requiring conventional banks to report when customers make cash withdrawals or deposits worth more than $10,000. I don't know, that to me sounds like,
but that has to do with cash, right? If they're going to require...
yeah, I guess.
I mean, and it could just be the journalist doesn't know what they're actually proposing.
Right,
There's always a breakdown between the legal...
That's a possibility.
Land
definitely.
Stuff.
I don't know. It definitely does seem... Something doesn't seem right to me because I'm pretty sure there's already... I mean,
it seems crazy. The whole thing's crazy. If I've got $10,000 worth of Bitcoin... or $11,000 worth of Bitcoin, and I decide I think Dash is going to go up, so I trade it all for Dash, is that going to be a reportable event, and then I trade it all back because I get cold feet about Dash, and I want to go back to Bitcoin.
Definitely, what you're saying definitely seems like it makes more sense, right? So
none of this makes sense.
Well, I mean, the way it's worded here in the story, I think doesn't make much sense because they're saying it's not illegal, but I feel like it kind of is. But I think what you're saying is that they're targeting the conversion between cryptocurrencies, which makes more sense. Well, I think that makes more sense because I normally if you were, one of the things that they certainly go after businesses for is when cartels go and they buy up like expensive items like diamonds, for example, or fur coats and things of that nature, very high ticket items, and they do that in order to basically launder the money.
Sure.
And that's money that's considered money laundering.
But it's not money laundering when you don't have any legal business. So money laundering, as I understand it, is only if you have done something illegal, so prostitution or drug dealing or something like that, you have proceeds from that illegal activity because you got paid for it. You then take those proceeds and you try to put them into the system.
Yes,
so to
put them in a bank.
Maybe, but there's also regulations, as I understand it, on over if the transaction is over a certain amount, it has to be reported.
But that doesn't have to do with money laundering.
Correct.
That might be. Now there is like
that may result in an investigation for money laundering because if you put $11,000 into a bank account and a cash transaction report is filed, in theory they could use that to say what's going on with this, and then research it. But they probably won't because cash transaction reports are pretty regular.
Right. So the cash transaction reports happen all the time, and it's not just banks; it's businesses as well. But the reason that most businesses don't have to file a report, and it might have a slightly different name, what a business has to do than a bank. But most businesses don't have to do it because most businesses that are selling goods that are over $10,000, they're getting either a money order or a wire transfer or a check or something like that. And that, because that's an electronic means,
it's exempt.
It's exempt.
That's right.
So if I were to take, for example, if I were to sell, I sell large dollar amounts worth of technology gear all the time. But how often have I gotten over $10,000 worth of cash? And I can tell you, I don't think I've ever gotten over $10,000 worth of cash.
And let me give you some
legal. So it's not applicable, but it would be if I did decide to take $50,000 from some corporation that wants to buy Wi-Fi cards from us.
Yes, and I will tell you, it's called Form 4300, FinCEN Form 4300. If you're a private business and someone comes in and says, "Hey, I'd like to buy $10,000 or more of goods in a single day," and they pay you in cash or currency equivalents, you have to file a Form 4300 with the IRS reporting that person's social, their name, their ID, to let them know that you're a business. And if you willfully fail to do that, it doesn't matter if the fail was willful or not, but if you fail to do that, it is a serious felony. They can come and seize all of your business. They can seize the money. They can seize the money he gave you.
How is anyone supposed to know that? Because, I mean, look, with a bank, the banks
most businesses don't. That's the crazy
that's what I'm
thing.
saying. With a bank, there are Bank Secrecy Act regulators.
Yes.
So the bankers have compliance officers. They know all this stuff from top to bottom. You get trained on it when you start working at the bank, even as a teller.
This is something that they use to go after people they don't like. It has nothing to do with any kind of like moral
so
moral
usually what happens,
it's more of a persecution thing. It's all it comes down to.
Usually the way the police will get like a car dealership or something is they'll come in, a drug dealer will come in and say, "I'd like to purchase 10 Mercedes," and he'll pay $5 million in cash or whatever, and they'll arrest the car dealership because they'll say, "Come on, any reasonable person should have known there was no reasonable way that this guy could have been legit. You should have looked at him and said, who pays $5 million in cash?"
A rich dude who doesn't want to have his information, kept. Privacy. And I can totally understand that.
Well, so usually they'll have him on tape going like, "Oh, yes, I'm a very successful drug lord, and I'd like to buy one of your cars and pay cash."
Well, then that's money laundering.
Yes, that's money laundering.
Yeah.
So...
All right, 603-283-6160. We're going to continue here. There's more from the FinCEN, Janet Yellen, cryptocurrency crackdown here, or potential crackdown. It sounds like they're going to make it even harder for centralized exchanges to operate, which, as far as I'm concerned, good. I mean, I don't support the regulations, but if it drives more people off of the centralized exchanges and drives them to alternatives, then that will be a good side of this, whether it's an unintended consequence, but that will be a good side of it.
Yeah, I kind of agree to some degree.
If more people start looking into decentralized solutions. More coming up here. Free Talk Live. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160 is our number here if you want to join the show. Talking about cryptocurrency being targeted by the federal government. And look, don't be fooled. It's not just this Janet Yellen person. It's not just the Biden administration. It was the Trump administration as well. They had a guy named Steve Mnuchin, who, I don't know if he still works for the feds, but he was, I think, a Trump appointee. I don't know if it was the exact same position, Secretary of the Treasury or whatever the hell he did, but he was also anti-cryptocurrency. So, I mean, this is nothing new.
There's politicians all over the world who are, especially on the left, who are really anti-crypto.
Well, because the ones that actually know about the monetary, because there's plenty of politicians that don't know jack diddly about money, right?
Yeah.
Like, they just know they want it.
They want it and they want to spend it.
Yeah, but these people know about fractional reserve banking, and they know about what government, inflation is, and they know about it all, this whole scam. And so they know that cryptocurrency is a threat. They know that that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies that are completely independent from their system are an absolute threat to the power and the hegemony of the U.S. dollar and the other fiat government monies out there around the planet. So they are afraid, and that's why they are lashing out like they are. We're going to continue with the story here. Of course, you're welcome to join us again, 603-283-6160. And I want to say thank you before we continue to Keenan, who is a Free Talk Live Silver Amplifier, meaning Keenan is contributing $5 a month to the AMP program. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote, and it is a way for you to get behind what we do here on Free Talk Live and help us get Free Talk Live on more radio stations. We just crossed the 190 station threshold this week. So, again, thank you to Keenan and everybody else who amps the show. You get some cool perks. You get some bonuses for doing that. You can go to amp.freetalklive.com, sign up with Bitcoin if you like, or you can use your debit card or credit card or PayPal to sign up over at amp.freetalklive.com, amp.freetalklive.com. Chris, let's continue with the proposals here. What do they have in mind for crypto?
Oh,
now?
this one's going to be this is absolutely insane. This one, this next one I'm going to bring up. So, even more controversial in the cryptocurrency world, FinCEN wants to impose new record-keeping requirements for transactions involving users who manage their own private keys. I love how they word this too. It's they're talking about self-hosted wallets, but they're calling it unhosted wallets.
Okay.
Under FinCEN's proposal, if a cryptocurrency exchange's customer sends more than $3,000, so even lower than banks,
right,
to an unhosted wallet, the exchange would be required to keep records on the transaction. They're talking about you. You would be required to keep records on the transaction because you're not using an exchange. That's
no. They're saying if you're sending it from your exchange. They're saying if you have an exchange account and you are sending off of the exchange.
But this is an unhosted wallet, meaning it's self-hosted.
That's what they're saying. Read it again.
Okay. Even more controversial in the cryptocurrency world, FinCEN wants to impose new record-keeping requirements for transactions involving users who manage their own private keys, dubbed unhosted wallets. So they're talking about people who are not using an exchange.
But keep going.
Under FinCEN's proposal, if a cryptocurrency exchange's customer sends...
If a cryptocurrency exchange's customer sends, meaning that you have a crypto exchange account.
Okay.
And
Coinbase.
Coinbase or whatever,
right.
Kraken, and Gemini, and you have an account on this centralized exchange, and you're saying, I want to not keep my crypto on the exchange.
So they're talking about sending it from a hosted wallet then to an unhosted wallet.
That is correct.
Okay.
So let me explain a little further.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So what they want is, one of the things they proposed last year was that the exchanges would share information. So the exchanges would share from one to the next and say, well, we have all these different addresses for Bitcoin. Okay, because they can identify that, right? Like they have a database that shows all the addresses they've got and who they're associated with. Okay, so when you have an exchange account, they have an address that's associated. It's your deposit address. So if you want to send your crypto to your exchange account, they give you the address and you send it to the account. So they wanted to make it so that each exchange was sending that data to one another. That way, the exchanges would know when you were withdrawing from your Binance.us account and you're sending it to your Kraken account, Binance would know that you were sending to another exchange and vice versa. They don't have that data right now, so they were going to require all the exchanges do that. This would take it to another level. So that would mean that if you were not sending to another exchange from the current exchange that you have your Bitcoin on, and instead sending it to a wallet that they didn't know what it was, they would then require what you're about to say.
Well, so what do they want then? Are they saying
What's the
because
next
they're
sentence?
saying identity of the customer who initiated the payment.
Just continue with what the sentence was. It was,
All right,
I'll
start from a little bit further back. Let's see. Under FinCEN's proposal, if a cryptocurrency exchange's customer needs more than $3,000 or sends more than $3,000 to an unhosted wallet, the exchange would be required to keep a record of the transaction, including
Which they
the
already
identity
have,
of the customer who initiated the payment. But they already would have had that.
have that.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
I'm not
I
sure
think the
follow.
government would say you have to keep a record and maybe file something with us. Is that anywhere
Does
in
it
there?
say more, though?
I'll keep reading. Let's see here. These new rules didn't take effect before Trump left office, so the incoming Biden team will need to decide what to do with them. The Biden administration could sign off on existing rules, rewrite them, or scrap them altogether. It's not giving us any more information on it.
What I think there's a point they're leaving out, and I only know this because I've read about this proposal.
Yeah, fair enough.
If you withdraw more than $3,000 to an unhosted wallet, to your own personal wallet, like an Edge wallet or Exodus wallet or one of these other personal crypto wallets, and the exchange would then require you to certify. Now, how they are going to prove this, I don't know. But they would then require you to say, yes, this is my wallet that I am sending this to. I am the owner of this wallet that I'm sending these coins to.
So it would be, you wouldn't be allowed to send it to any wallet that was not your own?
I don't know if that would also be the case. They may require that you identify any other wallets.
Because it's saying identify the sender.
They're saying identify the wallet to whom you are sending, meaning if it is your wallet, you would have to say it's my wallet.
That's not how I'm reading this, but let me read this again because this is just sounds so insane.
I think we're already on the fourth time of reading.
I know, because it says
they're leaving out some information is what I'm telling you here.
Okay, yeah, because it's saying it's from the identity of the sender. That's what I don't understand. How could it be that? Why would they already have that?
Yeah, they do already have that information. So they're just saying they're going to require them to keep the information they're already keeping on you. I mean, it's that part's pretty stupid.
I don't understand this.
I know. That's because they're not saying the other part of the proposal, which is to say that they will also require you to certify that it is your address to which you are sending the crypto. Because if you give me your address for Bitcoin,
right,
and I go into my exchange account and I order a withdrawal from my account to your address,
right,
I can do that right now.
Sure.
They may be trying to stop that from happening, or they may be requiring me to identify you as the recipient. Like they may require an extra step, basically. So right now, if you go on a Bitcoin exchange and you say, I want to withdraw this, you can tell it which address to withdraw to, and then you usually have to confirm with the confirmation code to make sure it was actually you that was doing this. But what they're going to say now is type in the name of the person who owns this address.
See, this is the problem with
maybe give them their social security number or what else.
This is the problem with reading these stories. Like it's missing critical information. It's like
well, sometimes journalists get it wrong. Shocker.
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
But that's what they're talking about. They're talking about trying to show even more information about where people are withdrawing their crypto to. Now, the thing is, it's not really going to do anything except make it so you got to do an extra hop, right? So if you want to send your crypto to somebody after that point, well, they can't require, at least not yet, it would be very hard for them to require the sender to identify the next and the following and the third and the fourth and the fifth wallets to which you can then send from your personal wallet.
Even if you could identify who you sent it to, right? Mm-hmm. How are you going to be able to identify the person who they sent it to?
You
right?
can't. You can't, and that's where the trail ends, basically. Yeah. And especially if you're using Monero, the trail is already going to be over as soon as you send it away the first time.
Right.
Which is, of course, why we're seeing some exchanges like the Bittrex exchange, which is a U.S.-based exchange, banned Monero and Zcash and even Dash. From their exchange.
That's
so
crazy.
I think you're going to see more of that coming soon. Is these exchanges are going to be too afraid of the federal government. Any U.S.-based exchange, I think, is likely going to be following suit and banning all privacy coins. More coming up. Free Talk Live.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish, in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, and the number 603-283-6160. You're invited. If you want to join us here, you can take control of the airwaves and bring up what you want. We're talking about some money-related stuff here tonight. The latest federal attack on cryptocurrency, trying to regulate the exchanges basically out of business, making it very difficult to purchase cryptocurrency. It's already so invasive, these exchanges. To get on any one of these centralized exchanges, it is shocking, the questions that they ask and how awful.
Kraken made me upload my ID, and they made me take a picture of myself holding my ID.
Oh, yeah.
With a statement in my handwriting saying that it was me.
That's actually pretty standard these days.
Yeah, this is why I refuse to get on an exchange. It just it disturbs me to no end that they're asking for all this information.
And it doesn't end there.
No, it doesn't.
Because what happens is after you've done, even after you've jumped through those hoops, TJ, they'll then come back later after you've actually started to use the exchange. Then they'll start to pepper you with more questions about where'd you get the money from? What's the proof of the source of funds, as they call it? And then they want to know, they've got like a 10-question survey that they're trying to get into all your business about. And even then, it doesn't end. In fact, our co-host Mark Edge had used Kraken to sell some Bitcoin that he had because they're buying a house with his mom down in Florida, or for his mom or whatever. And so he was using Kraken for the purpose that it exists, to buy and sell Bitcoin. In this case, to sell the Bitcoin. They withdrew the cash. So once they sold the Bitcoin, they had US dollars in their balance at Kraken and said, all right, well, let's withdraw that via wire transfer. And Kraken closed their account. And then when they asked why, and normally they won't even answer these questions as far as why, they were told, well, you shouldn't be withdrawing so much money.
Oh, wow.
And then his bank came at him and said, we're closing your account.
Wait, really?
Yeah. All for sending money to buy a house.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And Kraken itself is now actually a bank. So they were the first crypto exchange in the United States to get a bank status from the state of Wyoming, which did some.
I don't think people most people don't fully comprehend just how dangerous regulated banking is, because they're ordinary individuals and they're not used to banks cracking down on
you're just doing something you think is normal.
Ordinary activities.
Right.
But they actually do. They go after all sorts of people that the governments don't like, and even people who are doing completely legal businesses, whether it be a legal marijuana operation or somebody who was in the sex industry 20 years ago or 30 years ago. They've closed bank accounts of not people who were porn stars now. And I'm talking about legal porn stars, but people who were porn stars 20 years ago who up until recently had an account for 20 years or more at these banks, they shut them all down.
Yep. Well, and of course, as we found out
across
recently,
the industry, the banking industry.
Then there's also the gym in New Jersey, the Attila's Gym.
That's another great example.
Was targeted, and they had $165,000 or $170,000 lifted right out of their bank account. They cleaned the account out by the state of New Jersey.
Yeah. Keeping your money in the bank is very dangerous.
It's highly risky.
Very risky, because people think, oh, is my money safe in the bank?
No,
well,
it's not.
Panos and Katie Eliopoulos here in Keene, they were business owners, and they found out very quickly all it takes is the DEA can show up with a piece of paper and say, give us all the money in that account.
That's what happened.
I think the lesson that people should take away from all of this is that it's not that you can, and honestly, like if you're a human being and you're not poor, you probably have a bank account and you need to have one, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to keep all your money in a bank account.
Yes.
And so you want to minimize,
just keep what you need in there,
of dollars in that account to what you need, and then throw the money into, that you're pulling into investments and businesses and things that are harder to seize, harder to shut down, harder to attack.
That's the one thing about Bitcoin that I love that drew it to me. I think I heard about Bitcoin first in 2011. But I realized it was a type of money that the government couldn't seize from you, even if they knew you had it.
Easily. They could potentially raid your house and seize your computer.
Not even if they seize your computer. What if you have a brain wallet?
Your keys encrypted, then they can't do anything.
Yeah,
like
there are things called.
I'm assuming that your private keys are private. So that was the one assumption.
There's operational security issues though, and let's be honest, most people don't. Their computers are not encrypted. They're not all, and even if they are,
I'm not saying I'm typical use case. I'm just saying it in a theoretical.
It makes it harder, even if it's nothing's
very
encrypted,
hard.
Right?
I can tell the government, oh, I have 5 Bitcoin. Guess what? They can't take it from me because they don't have my private keys.
That's right.
Until they raid your house and seize your computer.
No, if it's encrypted, then they can't do anything with your seized computer.
They are never going to get my encrypted keys.
Back up your keys to multiple locations in encrypted files, and you'll
I don't
be
know
safe.
about you, and I don't know if Ross had his stuff encrypted.
He did not.
Well, seriously, not at all.
He did, but they had an argument. So two agents.
Oh, right. It was a live raid. But this is the whole point. Live forensics, right? That's exactly what my whole point was. Like there is this thing called live forensics, where even if you are not even if you do the encryption, they can come in and they can basically get your encryption keys if the computer is on at the time in which they seize it. So,
if you're in the encrypted file and that's open at the time that they seize it, then yes.
Yeah.
However, if you're encrypted,
I mean, potentially even if it's closed, because so oftentimes with the live forensics, what they do is they can search the memory for the encryption key. So even if the program is closed, it might still be in there.
I see what you're saying.
And there's definitely programs where they haven't. You could definitely pull the key out, and you can even test it because it's not that hard. All you got to do is basically, this is on Linux, but you can grep the memory, and you can see that your key is stored in memory, or there might be something equivalent on Windows. You can do basically to the same effect, and actually see it yourself.
I still stand by my original point. Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and Dash and Litecoin and all these cryptos. If you protect your key and have a backup and keep your key secret,
it's the safest possible
it's
situation.
The safest. Yeah. It's because with gold and silver, you bury that. If someone finds your cash, they can steal your money.
That's
or if you keep your gold and silver in a safe deposit box, or if you keep it in a safe.
Crypto is definitely the safest thing you can do. But
it's not perfect.
Yeah, it's not perfect.
The operational security is where you're going to fail, and that's where everybody fails.
I mean,
it's not crypto's fault if you let your keys out there.
If you disable your swap and you shut your computer down, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but if you leave your computer on 24/7 like most people do,
I don't think most people do.
Really?
I don't think so.
Okay.
What do you think, TJ? Do most people leave their computers on 24/7?
I wouldn't know. I leave mine on 24/7, but I keep it locked down.
Yeah.
So I have a password locked.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah. All right. If you want to join us here, 603-283-6160. Well, cryptocurrency is not something that Peter Schiff recommends.
Yes.
Peter Schiff is a gold bug and is also a gold seller. So he has an interest in selling you gold, which, by the way, I like gold. I wouldn't buy it from Peter Schiff personally, but I like gold. I like silver. I like gold backs specifically. I think those are really cool.
Definitely.
They've been very, very popular here in New Hampshire and Utah, where they came out, and we're going to see that, I think, grow over the next few years. It's already had an incredible growth. But anyway, let's talk about what Euro-Pacific Capital chief economist and strategist Peter Schiff, according to FoxBusiness.com, said that cryptocurrency investors are fools on Monday after Bitcoin took a major dip in the market after reaching record-breaking highs against the dollar. Now, by the way, this wasn't this Monday. This was, I think, a couple weeks ago. January 11th was when this was published. But it did take another dip this week. Actually, a couple days ago, it dipped down below $30,000. It's now at around $33,000, $34,000 today. Quote, all Bitcoin is the latest iteration of fool's gold, and anybody buying it is ultimately a fool. Apparently, he's also including his own son in that list. Schiff told Fox Business's Making Money with Charles Payne. Schiff explained Bitcoin investors who were able to sell after the stock's recent joyride, it's not a stock. I'd like to clarify for whoever wrote this story at Fox Business, Bitcoin is not a stock. A stock is a share in a company, and Bitcoin is not a company. Bitcoin is a piece of software. It is an open source thing.
Do you ever get the sense that journalists sometimes don't know what they're talking about when they write their story?
Most of the time.
Yeah, and also it's also not a stock because it's not regulated by the government. Every stock that's out there, there's all these government regulations that are attached to it. You can't just go and sign up for E-Trade or Robinhood or whatever the top is. Even E-Trade even a thing anymore? But Robinhood, which is a very popular app online for buying and selling stocks, they want to ID you. They want to know who you are. They want to know your social security number. So if you buy a stock and then sell it later, they can report you to the federal government. With Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, you can just go create a wallet, like with Edge Wallet, for instance, or Exodus Wallet, and you don't have to tell anyone that it exists. They won't tell anyone that it exists.
Well, you're going to have to tell somebody if you want to get that wallet funded with something.
That's true.
Probably, unless you mine your own crypto.
Schiff explained Bitcoin investors are merely selling to other buyers who don't recognize it's all a scheme. However, he added, most people who don't sell are under the delusion that Bitcoin will someday turn to cash. He said it's never going to be money. It doesn't fit the very definition of money.
Could have fooled me. I buy stuff with it all the time.
Let's talk about that coming up. Is Bitcoin money? You want to comment? Join us here, 603-283-6160. Hour 3's on the way. It's Free Talk Live.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A presidential focus on the economy. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. President Joe Biden today using his executive powers to help shore up the nation's economy while Congress considers his nearly $2 trillion economic stimulus proposal.
Today, I'm signing an executive order that directs the whole of government effort to help millions of Americans who are badly hurting. It requires all federal agencies to do what they can do to provide relief to families, small business, and communities.
Today's actions by the president are designed to increase the amount of money going to families of children missing meals because of school closures from the pandemic. He's also asking the Labor Department to clarify workers can refuse jobs that could imperil their health and still maintain unemployment benefits. The president is also promoting a plan that would ensure federal workers and contractors be paid a $15 minimum wage. The formal proceedings to begin the Senate impeachment trial of former President Trump for inciting insurrection gets underway next week. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
I've spoken to Speaker Pelosi, who informed me that the articles will be delivered to the Senate on Monday.
Schumer says the Senate trial would get underway February 8th. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says he wants a fair process.
This impeachment began with an unprecedentedly fast and minimal process over in the House. The sequel cannot be an insufficient Senate process that denies former President Trump his due process or damages the Senate or the presidency itself.
Former President Trump is building his legal team that will defend him in the Senate trial. He was acquitted by the Senate in his first impeachment trial. Former nightly news anchor Tom Brokaw today announcing he's retiring from NBC News after working for the network for 55 years. The 80-year-old says he'll continue to be active in print journalism, writing books and articles. America is listening to Fox News.
Good oral care habits keep you healthy. That means brushing your teeth for 2 minutes twice a day and replacing your bristles every 3 months. Quip, creators of the Quip electric toothbrush, makes it simple with a sleek design you'll want to use every day and timed sonic vibrations to guide your routine. Plus, Quip delivers a fresh brush head, floss refill, and toothpaste every 3 months when you need them. Sets start at $25. Get your first refill free at getquip.com/newsbrief.
As U.S. coronavirus deaths pass 412,000, a number of states continue struggling with providing vaccinations.
The U.S. added 3,955 more COVID deaths yesterday, according to Johns Hopkins, with hospitalizations at more than 119,000. Kentucky reporting its highest daily number of COVID deaths as the governor asks for more vaccine. Utah's governor says the federal government gave too much vaccine to pharmacies, and they're struggling to use those doses quick enough. Pennsylvania is having the opposite problem, trying to keep up with surging demand. Amazon's hosting a one-day vaccination drive in Seattle, and Mississippi has opened a drive-through site at the state capitol. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Google has banned a prominent German user of its YouTube platform who had repeatedly posted false claims about the pandemic. Google saying that a YouTube channel known as Ken FM was no longer available and that the person operating it would not be allowed to start another. YouTube and others have vowed to crack down on the spread of misinformation about coronavirus. Grocery delivery company Instacart is eliminating nearly 2,000 positions of shoppers who fill orders.
USA Today says the layoffs include 10 workers at a Skokie, Illinois supermarket who last year voted to join the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, the company's only unionized workers. In a statement, Union President Mark Perrone says firing the only unionized workers at the company and destroying jobs of frontline workers in the middle of a public health crisis is simply wrong. Instacart says the job cuts were forced by grocery stores.
This is the Onion Week in Review. Quiet and reserved temp Kevin Bright surprised his coworkers this week when they discovered that the mild-mannered 27-year-old was actually an untalented singer-songwriter.
How did I get here? It's probably a tree.
Bright, who mostly keeps to himself at work, usually spends his free time embarrassing himself at open mics across the city, and that underneath his meek and soft-spoken exterior is a terrible guitarist with no musical sensibility whatsoever.
You see him in the office, he's this quiet, reserved kid, and you would never think, oh, he's got a great voice and a wonderful stage presence, and you'd be totally right.
In other news, an Ohio Film Festival graphic designer decides to go with film reels for the O's. And getting grandma into a family reunion t-shirt is a 3-person job. The entire 144-minute cut of this week's review is available now for just $11.99 on Laserdisc. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
The Department of Health and Human Services has issued a new ban preventing the nation's saunas from any further use of tanning salons. The ruling was made after a study found that saunas are exposed to roughly 5,000 times more UV radiation each year than the average American.
They are at a very high risk of developing melanoma and orangey leathery skin. Saunas, you are tan enough.
The nation's saunas have reacted negatively to the ban.
I don't care what the government says. I just won $15 in scratches, so I'm getting a freaking tan. This sucks.
None of us have time for this shit. We've got Tammys at home to raise.
In an Onion News Network poll of saunas across the country, more than 30% argued that a pale complexion will negatively affect the size of their tips at Ruby Tuesdays. And more than half have said that their boyfriend's dentist liked them tan. And he's the father of their second child, so they want him to stick around.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, and our number, if you want to join us on the radio here, it's 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And also, we've been talking about cryptocurrency and getting into another attack against it, this one by, well, one of the usual suspects, Peter Schiff, calling Bitcoin people fools, saying that Bitcoin is the latest iteration of fool's gold and anybody buying it is ultimately a fool. Well, I can tell you that everybody that purchased it up until, a few weeks ago had actually come out on top, so I'm not sure if that's a foolish thing.
I kind of have to wonder now, am I not a fool because I didn't purchase it? I only acquired it.
Well, that's even better.
If somebody sent it to me, for a good that I sold.
I think that's even better because
absolutely.
If you can get paid in Bitcoin, then that's the optimal way to do things. But we're going to talk about it because Peter Schiff says Bitcoin is never going to be money. He says it doesn't fit the definition of money.
Which definition is he using?
And what 3 definitions of money are there? Or what are the 3 things that something has to be for it to be
right.
money?
Are there only 3? I thought there was...
3 is the ones I remember. It has to be a medium of exchange, a unit of account, and A medium of exchange, a unit
Store
of account,
value?
and a store of value.
Okay. In fact, I pulled up something about what defines money, so we can get into that coming up here. But again, 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Ian,
Chris,
and TJ the Spy.
The story here from FoxBusiness.com. Peter Schiff on the attack again against Bitcoin rather than embrace it as apparently his own son has done. He is still, and I don't know if you were saying this on the air, TJ, but there was like a poll apparently.
Yes, Peter Schiff did on his Euro Pacific Capital. He has a podcast that he puts out on YouTube. Peter Schiff Radio, but he actually had a poll on his website where he asked people, who do you think is right? My son, who's 18 and has no investment experience, Spencer, or me with 30 or 40 years of investment brokerage experience?
It's not a high
who
selling
do you
point
think?
for
And
me.
it was like 95% of the listeners thought the son was right and the dad was wrong.
So the problem is that experience in and of itself does not necessarily mean that you're competent in your field. There's a lot of people out there who are incompetent in their field and have 30, 40 years experience.
Well, also, it doesn't, even if they are competent, even if they're incredibly successful and have helped, thousands of people make millions of dollars, that doesn't mean they understand the next thing.
Yeah,
that
it's very true.
Right? Like, the old dinosaurs are dinosaurs for a reason. They don't change with the times. They're going extinct. And that's true for people like Peter Schiff. It's true for, old media.
It kind of reminds me of venture capitalists. They don't really care where the money goes. Okay, they're just in it for making the money off of. They get a percentage or something to that effect, or a certain fee, right? And so they don't really care about the business so much. It's about the money that they're making from it.
He says that money needs to be a commodity. It needs to have actual value unto itself, not just the uses and means of exchange. Now, I don't know what he means by it needs to have actual value unto
I think he means
itself.
like gold has a use like for electronics, and platinum has a use in the auto industry for catalytic converters, and silver has a use for jewelry. And
I think one of the problems with this idea that it has to have a value, in and of itself, is that the value,
intrinsic value, perhaps.
Yeah, the intrinsic value. It may have intrinsic value, but it's not of the extent that people value it, right? So, like, if it goes away, like the exchange, the exchange, there's value in it being a medium of exchange, right? And that's what we see in cryptocurrency. It has a value only of being exchanged. There's no intrinsic value other than that, right? Gold has some intrinsic value, but most of its value is not as in products. It's mostly in its use as a medium of exchange, which is the same thing as crypto almost, except there's some intrinsic value, whereas crypto has no intrinsic value.
I don't know if I agree with that, because the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin as money, or cryptocurrency as money, or crypto as money, is only one aspect of what it can be used for. So the real technology that came out when Bitcoin was released is the blockchain. I mean, that's one of the most important aspects of this sort of encrypted, secure, distributed, decentralized method of storing information and recalling that information, this blockchain. And we've had databases forever.
The blockchain might have some value, right, to other.
But that's intrinsic to Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't exist without the blockchain. The blockchain, for listeners that don't know, is it's the public ledger in the case of Bitcoin that is behind Bitcoin. And so blockchain can be used for more than just storing, money on a ledger. It can also be used for storing other data, for instance, in a decentralized and distributed manner that cannot be stopped and cannot be taken down. So when you look at like BSV, Bitcoin
Satoshi version.
Yes, SV, they have the ability, because they made their block size, I think, unlimited or very,
something
very
like 100
large,
megabytes.
or something.
100 megabytes was the top. It's still very large.
Yeah, and so they made it so you can now upload pictures, you can upload documents, you can upload all kinds of things to this blockchain. So the technology behind Bitcoin is its intrinsic value. The network of Bitcoin is also part of its intrinsic value. The fact that there are 10,000 nodes on this network that are checking each other constantly and verifying the transactions, there's a tremendous value.
That's a value of exchange, not intrinsic value. If it's not a value of exchange, that value isn't there.
So,
well, if no one uses it, then it's not particularly valuable. But
as a unit of exchange, right? If you remove that from it, what else can you do with that with that particular blockchain.
I just gave you examples. They can store other data.
So you're saying we would go from using Bitcoin to exchange value to storing tiny pictures?
That's happening right now on the Bitcoin SV blockchain. Go to the Twetch website, TWETCH. They're doing a social.
I mean, that seems like it's still. I mean, it's kind of even. All right, let's just assume that's the case. Let's say that is intrinsic value, right? It's going to be very, very tiny relative to what the people value cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or any of these cryptos at, right?
I mean, could be.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, and this is the thing. I think that is kind of.
It depends. What's the value? You're saying it's tiny. But, what is the value of something that can never be deleted? I mean, there's some value there. Now, whether it's the same value of crypto or not, of the money aspect of it or not, and also we may not even know yet what these technologies can really be used for down the line. Yeah. We're still just kind of scratching the surface on this. But I'm just telling you, there is some value to this technology.
I'm willing to assume, for the sake of argument, that there is, right?
Money's just the first application, to this technology.
But now you're kind of moving beyond cryptocurrency, right?
I am. I'm telling you that the technology behind the currency aspect. The currency aspect was the first application.
See, the problem is you're talking about then something different, right? Like crypto.
So what did Peter Schiff say? I mean, like. I actually watched the interview. They had Fox Business. They had a Bitcoin proponent, and they had Peter Schiff on to talk about why each one was right.
Yeah.
And the Bitcoin proponent, he said, well, Peter Schiff accepts Bitcoin to buy gold.
Does he now?
Yes, he has BitPay.
Interesting.
The thing that I would have pointed out to Peter, I said, I agree with him, gold is going to go up in value a lot when this hyperinflation bubble that's coming to our way hits. But the one thing about gold is if I want to give it to you, Ian, I physically have to send it to you or hand it to you.
Or you can send a certificate. That's where they're manipulating the price of gold by issuing certificates to people who are quote unquote buying gold.
Gold, yes.
And then they just get a certificate. But there may not actually be the gold in the vault to back the certificate.
And that's the thing. Bitcoin that could become worthless because you don't physically have it.
That's right.
Bitcoin has this huge advantage. I can put up a QR code on the TV and anybody in the world can send me money.
That's right.
You can't do that with gold and silver.
Nope. No, you can't.
Yeah. I think there is a lot of value in cryptocurrencies. And I don't know, I don't know about the intrinsic part of it, but I think it's I think it could be. I think you can say it's overvalued.
You think it's overvalued?
I think you can make that argument. I'm not saying it is. I think at the end of the day, we don't see people using it, to the extent that it probably should be used for people to, consider it, to have a significant value. But hey, as long as it continues, the adoption continues, it may eventually get there. So but if it's going to get there in 100 years, it doesn't make sense to value it today at what it's valued at possibly.
603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Well, regardless of what you think the price should be, the market has decided the price is what it is.
You are 100% right.
For a variety of reasons, whatever those might be. More coming up here. It is Free Talk Live.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org. Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
We just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up what you want here. 603-283-6160. Is Bitcoin money? Peter Schiff says it is not. And we respectfully disagree. At least, I think I can speak for you guys on that point. With you tonight in the studio, it's Ian,
Chris, and TJ the Spy.
We're going to continue with your calls and your thoughts. Also want to remind you about Fork Fest coming up this summer. You're going to want to join us in the woods in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire at Rogers Campground. TJ, you went a couple years ago.
Yeah, to 2018, the year my father passed away.
That was year number 2 of Fork Fest. You missed the last couple. You missed a good one.
I'm going to try to get James to come this year.
Oh, that would be wonderful if you could do that.
Would definitely be fun.
It's going to be happening June 28th through July 4th. This is going to be year number 5 for Fork Fest. And it will be happening after the Porcupine Freedom Festival. So back when you went, it was actually before. Last year in 2020, we started it afterwards, and it's going to continue to be after the Porcupine Freedom Festival. And PorcFest is a great event, but ForkFest is also very, very different because ForkFest is decentralized, meaning that there's no one who is in charge of the event. There's no organizers. There's no board of directors. It's just liberty-minded people coming to the same place for this, relatively same time frame. and just having a good time. If there's something you want to create for other attendees, you should do that. So if you want to put on, some sort of a musical performance or host a game night or poker game or, whatever it is you're called to do, whatever you think people would enjoy, then you should do it. Go to forkfest.party. You can learn more about the event there, and there's some links to the Forkfest chat room on Telegram. There's also all the stuff's unofficial, of course. So, if you feel like you want to create a Forkfest Matrix server, or, go right ahead or whatever.
Give it a new name.
Or, yeah. So forkfest.party, or create a Forkfest room on the existing LRN Matrix server. There's all kinds of cool things you can do, but it's up to you because you decide what Forkfest is all about. It's, again, June 28th through July 4th. What you can do right now is go to forkfest.party and then check out Rogers Campground and get in touch with Rogers and book your site, because they're expecting a large number of people there for their 4th of July weekend, because it's not just going to be the Liberty folks who are in the park. There's also going to be just some folks who are there to check out the cool fireworks show, which was amazing this year.
Absolutely.
So it's you want to make sure you get your spot reserved. I'm not saying the place is going to sell out, but it was a pretty big weekend, and you want to make sure you're there for it.
I would put it on the calendar if nothing else.
Yeah, I'd say if not put it on your calendar, go ahead and book your campsite.
Can you even book your campsite right now, because they're usually closed in the winter, aren't they?
They are closed in the winter, but I think they return phone calls like once a week or something.
I've heard it's difficult to get a booking. I would add it to my calendar and
give it another month or two or something.
Give it until it gets warmer, and then then book.
Don't wait too long.
I'm not saying wait. Yeah. Obviously the early bird gets the campsite they want, but. Yeah.
Forkfest.party, June 28th through July 4th this year. We'll see you then. Steve in Connecticut is on the line with us here, and we'll continue on Peter Schiff on the attack again against Bitcoin. Steve, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, and Steve, you're a political refugee from Connecticut.
Hey, Steve.
I'm still from Connecticut. I got one foot in New Hampshire, one still in Connecticut. But being from Connecticut, Peter Schiff was in Westport, Connecticut. And about 15 years ago, word was going around that, the economy's going to blow up, and I see him on TV, and he's talking about Ron Paul and gold. And so I said, all right, well, I'm going to give this guy a chance because he's in Connecticut. I, went to his office, talked to him, and set up a brokerage account with him. And, he started, like you were saying, there's either physical gold or there's certificates. And his big thing was the Perth Mint. Like you're buying Australian gold, but here are the certificates. The mint, the gold is in the mint.
Yeah.
And I was like, being somewhat naive to gold 15 years ago, I thought, well, that's safe. It's safe over in Australia. But, every time I've seen him on TV, he's always, the sky is falling, the economy's going to crash, they're printing money like crazy. And it's true, but it just seems that, his predictions or his doomsday predictions don't come true.
Well, it's the doomsday predictions that sell products, right? Like if you can get fear into people, then they will buy. And that's what people like Peter Schiff and Alex Jones and these fear mongers have been doing for decades.
There is something to overselling, though, I think, and I think that's the thing you got to be careful of, especially when you're dealing with people, is they're overselling. And if they oversell it, what else are they lying to you about,
So wait, you were saying Peter Schiff was selling certificates? He doesn't even sell actual gold?
Well, I think at the time I was able to get actual gold, but not at, on the side to keep in my safe at home, but not part of a self-employment pension or 401k or anything like that. You had to buy it through certificate.
But wait, what I was asking was, what does Peter Schiff sell? Does he sell? You're saying he sells just the certificates, or does he actually sell the physical product?
I think one part of his business, Euro Pacific Capital, sold physical gold.
Oh, okay.
I needed a broker to put money in for a retirement fund.
Gotcha. And then
so I
you
moved
had to
my
get
assets over to him, and he said, "Well, you can get gold, but it's in certificate form."
Mm-hmm.
So you were saying yes, there's a physical form, and then there's also the certificate.
Right.
But honestly, what he's when he says Bitcoin is crazy, I would say take whatever he's saying and just do the opposite.
I agree. Like
when it comes to gold certificates and Bitcoin and all that, I know it's great, but in a real what hits the fan situation, a flock of chickens will be worth more than Bitcoin.
Well, I mean, it depends, but as long as the internet doesn't go down, the Bitcoin will continue to be valuable.
I think that's a good point. It's like, obviously, if we have a nuclear war and all of the networks go down, yeah, you're right. But chances are more likely that that's not the situation that you're going to.
If you have a nuclear war, you're going to have more problems on your hands than Bitcoin.
Yeah, and the types of things that cryptocurrencies are good for is totalitarian. Fuck.
Oh my goodness! I don't know what you just said there, but I'm going to hit the dump button just in case.
but it's also getting the money out
too close for comfort.
The Federal Reserve System.
Sorry, Steve. Say that again.
Right. It's also getting the money out of the Federal Reserve System, out of the banks, and just putting it in your wallet to someone else's wallet.
Yeah, that's
the key
important.
to Bitcoin, correct?
Yeah, that's definitely a key aspect to it. And that's something you can do with gold as well. And we know you, Steve. You come up regularly to visit us here in Keene from there in Connecticut, and you're a fan of the gold back. So that's another thing that is another way to get out.
Gold backs and silver rounds. That's a way to have a physical portion of gold that's portable. In society, let's say.
Right, and those would work great in a nuclear or EMP attack, right? So if you have your gold backs on you, you've still got useful money.
I really have to wonder though, like if that's the scenario you're concerned about, do you have the bunker already, or like do you just have the gold and are going to die and not be able to use it?
Gotta have those chickens. I'll see you guys on
Thanks,
Sunday.
Steve. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the call tonight. Look, I mean, nuclear attack, you got some serious problems you're going to deal with at that point. Things like ammunition will become quite valuable.
Yeah.
Ammunition's already expensive.
Diversification is an important thing when it comes to assets.
Yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's for sure. And we're not investment advisors here, but we've certainly always said don't put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah. That's generally a good suggestion to live by. We're coming up here. You can join us on Free Talk Live. Is Bitcoin fool's gold? You tell us.
July 25th, we adopted April. She's a purebred, orange and white Brittany. But when she started scratching like crazy, I said to John, it's got to be her food. What you put into a dog is what you get out. We heard this radio commercial, and this woman was so excited about Dinovite, DINOVITE.com. I said to John, I'm getting this. So the Dinovite comes, and I thought, a light bulb moment. She loves her dog food. She always leaves a little bit in her bowl. So we added a huge scoop of Dinovite in it, and then we swished it around like gravy. She dove into that bowl. She licked it clean. She loved it. So that's been the routine. April gets Dinovite for dessert. Her coat is now soft. It's silky. Dinovite is nutrition. She even walks like a little princess.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
On Dinovite, she's Little Miss Hollywood. DINOVITE.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? you can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can take control here. You can dial in at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Chris.
And TJ the Spy.
And we've been talking about the latest attack here on Bitcoin by Peter Schiff, who is just... He is not going to change. I mean, he's decided he's going to be against cryptocurrency, even though his own son has apparently embraced it. And has recently called Bitcoin fool's gold, claiming that it is, quote, never going to be money. It doesn't fit the very definition of money. And what is the definition of money? That's what I wanted to get into here, according to Investopedia.com. So I just, looked online for, what is the definition of money? How do you identify a thing as money? They say here that money should be a currency should be fungible, durable, portable, recognizable, and stable. So 5 different aspects here. So they talk about fungibility. They say units of the good should be of relative uniform quality, so they are interchangeable with one another. If different units of the good have different qualities, then their value for use in future transactions may not be reliable or consistent. Trying to use a non-fungible good as money results in transaction costs of individually evaluating each unit of the good before an exchange can take place. So, is Bitcoin fungible?
I would say no, because even if I have 1 Bitcoin and you have 1 Bitcoin, we don't have necessarily the same Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Bitcoins can be tainted through criminal actions or through theft. And so there's a company called Chainalysis, which they actually maintain a record. If you Chainalysis, or they help the prevent theft or help track down if there's a kidnapping or a robbery of some kind of crypto. They help track it through the ecosystem.
Because Bitcoin is public, as
because
we discussed
Bitcoin's
earlier,
public,
and the blockchain can be viewed by anybody. So
would that change then for Monero?
Monero is completely private because they use ring CT and stealth addresses,
which makes Monero fungible.
Yes.
So wait a minute. So we're going to call Monero fungible, and
Bitcoin is
we'll
not.
call that a valid money, but not Bitcoin.
That there's 4 other aspects here.
Okay, right. All right, let's keep going.
But I want to talk a little bit more.
Well,
okay,
so
sure.
I would say Bitcoin is not fungible because certain Bitcoins are blacklisted. If you
they're doing that now.
Yes, if you actually attempt to send certain Bitcoins, they'll actually be frozen.
What they're actually doing is they're forming, and they've been talking about this for a long time. I remember back at a Bitcoin convention, the first Bitcoin convention that Mark and I went to back in 2013, there was the CEO of Coinbase, still the same guy, still Brian somebody is his name. And then another CEO of a now defunct company called TradeHill. We're having a conversation with a attorney, and I was just standing there and heard the entire conversation. They were talking about forming what they called like a white hat society, where they would team up. All these good government obedient businesses would team up and agree to form this group where they would refuse to accept this, what you call the tainted Bitcoins, TJ.
Yeah.
Where any Bitcoin that went through the Silk Road, they would say, oh, this is dirty money. We won't accept your dirty money. Even though, of course, the average person who receives money that came from the Silk Road would have no idea because they received it from somebody who, you don't know where the hell your Bitcoins come from, but they do know.
I can't imagine that would make it difficult to spend unless you could get everybody else on board with it.
That's the thing. You wouldn't be able to get everybody on board with it, but a lot of these major companies would sign on with this. And in fact, it could become something where the government makes it a mandatory thing. Where, right. Imagine this. Coinbase is a big company, right? Like, for listeners that don't know, Coinbase is sort of like the big bank of cryptocurrency. They're a big company. They sell Bitcoin. They could go to the government. Yeah.
One that's hooked into the ACH transfer system.
I was using big bank in a way to liken it to what it sort of is. They're not a bank, but they are ugly like a big bank. They do
I understood.
ugly things. They agree with the government. They want They want to appease the government.
Sure.
So a company like Coinbase would go and lobby the state and say, hey, we've created this white hat society where we're refusing to do business with anyone that has money that went through any of these drug exchanges. And they would say, what we think you ought to do, government, is pass a law to mandate that everyone check this list before they do business with, and it would be some sort of an automated thing where a company would say, oh, you've got Bitcoin from the Silk Road or White House Market or whatever other crypto or underground darknet markets there are. Therefore, we refuse to do business with you. And that can absolutely happen with Bitcoin because it's not fungible, as TJ's pointing out. It's not happening 100% yet. It's not really something you have to worry about now.
I certainly see where that's possible, but it seems very difficult for me to imagine a world in which it would have any kind of practical effect.
Well, the practical effect would be to bar certain Bitcoins from exchanges. All these government-obsessed exchanges.
I mean, in the real world, it doesn't seem like it would affect me. Like
you and I could still exchange those Bitcoins,
right? Like I would accept crypto. I'm not gonna check the whitelist, and then I could also spend it. And not the
moment you go to spend it, it would be seized because it'd be on the blacklist.
But who's going to seize it, and how are they going to seize it?
Well, the merchant could get it. You send it to the merchant. And
so I pay the merchant, and then the merchant takes it and
says, "Well, I'm sorry, it's on the blacklist."
I just paid them.
I think they'd be more likely to send it back.
Okay. Unless the government comes in and says,
that's assuming that the merchant is even checking, and then you'd have to have the cooperation of the merchant, and that just seems like it's going
right. No, it wouldn't be that you would use the merchant.
Well, here's the reason. If I were an attorney, I would tell the merchant, you better check that list, because if you accept dirty crypto, the government's going to say you knowingly accepted dirty crypto, and they're going to try to build a money laundering prosecution against you.
It seems like a weak argument because, to me, and I know. Well, and the reason I say it's a weak argument is just because you don't know. Most business owners don't know, right?
The average business owner wouldn't be doing it themselves. It would be one of their service providers. So let's say BitPay, for instance. If BitPay, they've got this system where you can pay at a
coffee
point
shop.
of service, a coffee shop or whatever. I don't think AnyPay would adopt it, but BitPay would.
Right, and I maybe that would be true for BitPay, but it wouldn't be true for AnyPay because AnyPay doesn't even work that way anymore anyway. You're sending it directly to the merchant's wallet, not through AnyPay. Correct. So it's no longer even something that would be applicable at that point.
Look, you're right in that some people would still be able to transact Bitcoin, but the companies that are government obedient, and there are plenty of them, would do this. Okay, it hasn't happened yet, but it's something they've been planning for years. The point that TJ's trying to make here is that makes two classes of Bitcoin. So it means that Bitcoin isn't fungible. That's the only point he's trying to make.
I'm trying to say Bitcoin's not fungible.
That means that some Bitcoin are worth different than other Bitcoin.
And I can point to another example. They actually will pay a 10 or 20% premium. Bitcoin investors will pay a 10 or 20% premium for Bitcoins that have no transaction history. So
really?
Yes. If you're a miner, you don't sell to an exchange. You sell to an investor because Bitcoin investors will pay a premium if your coins are Coinbase.
Why?
That is super
because they have no transaction history, so they can't be tainted.
So they're guaranteed.
They're guaranteed to be clean, so they have a higher premium.
Whoa, wait. What? Really?
Yeah, this was on CoinDesk.
This is actually something that's
yes, this is in CoinDesk.
Verifiable.
And that's proof that it's not fungible. That right there is proof.
Really interesting.
All right, so let's move on to number 2. This is the second, what they say, this is according to Investopedia, the factors of what makes money. So number 1 was fungibility. 2, durability. The physical character of the good should be durable enough to retain its usefulness in future exchanges and be reused multiple times. A perishable good or a good that degrades quickly with use in exchanges will not be as useful for future transactions. Trying to use a non-durable good as money conflicts with the money's essentially future-oriented use value. Now this, at first blush, seems to apply more to a physical product. But when you think about it as its application to Bitcoin, Bitcoin is actually taking larger and larger chunks out of every time you send. There's a network fee that you have to send. And so for every time I want to send Bitcoin to somebody, I have to pay some amount of Bitcoin to the network in order to send that Bitcoin. Now, when it was 1 cent or 2 cents, that's relatively insignificant. But when it's $20...
Yes, that's a significant cost to money.
Right. And actually, I just sent some Ethereum today. It was a $40 fee.
Wow.
To send Ethereum.
Yikes.
It was insane. I've never spent that much to send Ethereum. Now, I had to send this Ethereum, otherwise I would have said no. I would have refused this particular transaction. But let's continue. More about durability when it comes to cryptocurrency. Because, at first blush, it seems like it's a pretty durable thing. It's digital. How could it go bad? 603-283-6160.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
There are basically 2 types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
The easiest thing in the world for a reader to do is to stop reading, according to the late, great Barney Kilgore, who became managing editor of the Wall Street Journal in 1941 and grew the paper's circulation from 33,000 to 1 million by the 60s. And he'd be pleased to know that his paper is one of the few that people now pay to read online. Someone else pre-internet who realized that attention is fragile? Motown Records founder Berry Gordy. In the early 60s, when his label dominated the charts, he'd bring a dozen real people into the Hitsville, USA studios and audition songs. And he'd ask, if you were down to your last dollar, would you spend it on this record or would you buy a sandwich? Today, attention span seems like an oxymoron. For tips on cutting through the clutter, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You can join us here talking about money and what defines it. We're going through the list here. The different aspects of what a money should be, what currency should be, 603-283-6160. And how close does Bitcoin come or other cryptocurrencies? So far, we've decided that Monero
is fungible,
whereas Bitcoin is not really. 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Chris.
And TJ the Spy.
Be sure to check out Chris on his show. He does his own thing on Saturday evening starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Time over at freedomdecrypted.com. In fact, TJ, did you agree to host with him?
I did agree to go do hosting with him.
You're making the circuit. I like it.
Yeah, making the circuit of the podcast.
A super interesting show tomorrow, and you will want to tune in to watch it, not just listen. If you just listen to the show, usually not tomorrow. Tomorrow you have to watch it.
Yeah.
Okay, is that all you want to say about why?
It's your show. I'll let you be the teaser.
I think we'll leave it.
You want to leave
it as a surprise.
Okay, we'll leave it as a tease.
All right, so check that out. Let's just say you're going to be going back 5 years in time to a very special event.
This very special event.
603-283-6160. Yeah, check them out. freedomdecrypted.com. That's their website, and you can watch it. But if you want, you can also download the audio later and you can listen to it if you want. freedomdecrypted.com. It's a freedom-oriented tech show, and it's a great show, so check that out. So we're talking about money here, and we've been through fungibility. There's 5 aspects, according to Investopedia.com, that defines a good money. They should have as many of these 5 as possible, to be the better the money, the more of the 5 that it has. So durability, it's talking about whether money can be exchanged multiple times without losing its value. And it's easily applicable to a physical currency, but when it comes to the durability of a cryptocurrency, I would say Bitcoin is the least durable of all of the cryptocurrencies right now, because every time you spend it, a chunk of it is going to the network. And you have to spend on top of the amount I want to spend. If I want to send you $100 worth of Bitcoin, it may actually cost me $110.
Yes, because of the Bitcoin
Because
fee.
of the Bitcoin fee could be as high as right now. $10 is not uncommon. If you want to see it go quickly, if you want to transmit it, in what they call the next block within roughly 10 minutes for confirmation times, you'll have to spend about $10 right now, according to the rates today. Now, you could spend like $2 and then wait for hours.
Are you monitoring my phone? Because
no.
It's funny, because about like a week ago, James found 25 millibitcoins in an old Coinbase wallet. It's worth about $1,000.
Really?
And so I said, well, let's just transfer it out of the Coinbase or the old blockchain info wallet. And we transferred it to my Trezor wallet. And
what was the fee?
I got it for $2 because I was willing to put it on low transaction priority.
You were willing to wait.
And I said, you kept picking numbers like, the Bitcoin fee, it was $10 and there was $2. I'm like, boy, he seems to be picking all the same numbers that I've been using.
Well, I've been spending Bitcoin, so I know what the fees are like right now. So there you go, durability. Let's move on to number 3, portability. It should be divisible into small quantities so that people can appreciate its original use value highly enough that a worthwhile quantity of the good can be conveniently carried or transported. An indivisible good, immovable good, or good of low original use value can create issues. Trying to use a non-portable good as money could produce transaction costs of either physically transporting large quantities of the low-value good or defining practical transferable ownership of an indivisible or immobile object. Well, this one's pretty easy, and I would say cryptocurrency does meet this requirement. Crypto is inevitably very portable, and it is able to be divided down very, very small. In fact, that was one of the most interesting parts about Bitcoin early on, was how many decimal points it's got.
Yeah,
it's got 8 of them.
8 of them, so you can go down to 1 Satoshi, which is
that's the smallest
unit of account in Bitcoin, and that can be upgraded. So the point is, Bitcoin is a deflationary currency. There's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin ever minted. So the question is, what happens when Bitcoin, if people lose their keys, there's going to be less and less Bitcoin as time goes on.
And they're losing their keys. There was just a story in the news about a guy that lost $240 million worth of Bitcoin because he couldn't remember his password.
Yep.
Yikes.
So, yeah.
Oof. And then there was another guy that threw away a hard drive and was searching a dump or something like that.
The
desperately
town dump.
Trying to find his old laptop.
Yeah, I'm very grateful I didn't invest heavily. That would make me sick if I bought $1,000 worth of and said, "Oh, I lost $100 million of Bitcoin."
You'd be dreaming about it every night.
Oh yeah,
or nightmares. So I think it meets portable. I mean, that's pretty clear that it meets portable.
Fair enough.
Moving on here, recognizable. The authenticity and quantity of the good should be readily ascertainable to the user so they can easily agree to the terms of an exchange. Trying to use a non-recognizable good as money produces transaction costs of agreement on the authenticity and quantity of the goods by all parties to an exchange. What do you think about that one? Is Bitcoin recognizable?
I think it is between individuals who are knowledgeable
about Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, but does it have to be everybody? Because if that's the case, then not everybody's going to recognize the euro, right? So I think it is to the same extent that a few
to at least other monies.
Yeah.
I would say this about it. To some extent, there's some confusion within the world of Bitcoin. So you got Bitcoin, you got Bitcoin Cash, you've got Bitcoin SV,
Gold.
You've got Bitcoin Gold. There's all these sort of fun, what do they call forks of Bitcoin that have come out that add a lot of confusion to the question of what is Bitcoin. And some people believe that their Bitcoin's the one true Bitcoin. So there's Bitcoin SV adherents who believe that this is the true Satoshi's vision, this is the one true Bitcoin, whereas others say no, Bitcoin BTC is the one true Bitcoin.
I mean,
and so if you have, let me go on. If you have somebody presenting to you and saying, "Hey, I'll give you some Bitcoin," and you say, "Oh, great, I know what Bitcoin is," and you hold out your Bitcoin wallet for BTC, and then they try to scan your wallet for sending you Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SV, well, now you've got a problem.
And I think I think that is people with certain interests. Just because you call a dog a cat doesn't mean the dog is a cat, right?
Well, are you saying Bitcoin SV or Bitcoin Cash is not Bitcoin?
I would say Bitcoin Cash is a fork of Bitcoin.
But is it Bitcoin?
No.
Because it's not on the same network.
Yeah, I mean,
different blockchains.
Yeah,
they share,
but they started with the same blockchain.
Yeah, but does the market value it the same? No, it's clearly different. It's
hold on then. Are you saying only the most valuable thing that's called Bitcoin is Bitcoin?
Nope, doesn't have anything to do with that.
So would Bitcoin BTC continue to be Bitcoin if it weren't the top crypto?
It's the original fork. I mean, that's what is that effectively determines it, or at least what whatever the market decides. I mean, when somebody
well, now you're getting into the question of recognizability. I mean, you're saying if it's whatever the market decides. Is it the original fork that's always Bitcoin, or is it whatever the market decides is Bitcoin that's Bitcoin? It's getting confusing now.
I think it's whatever whatever takes control as far as the adoption of the cryptocurrency is concerned. I mean, there's multiple. I guess maybe you could get confused if there was
There are people who will tell you that Bitcoin SV is Bitcoin.
I think that's wrong. I mean,
they
I think
will tell you. Well,
it doesn't make any sense.
Hold on, they make a strong argument because
vision-wise, I understand their argument. I just think that their logic is flawed in the way they're arguing. I mean, just because something follows the original vision of the founder of Bitcoin does not necessarily make it Bitcoin.
So even though it actually follows what Bitcoin was originally, because it doesn't have BTC next to its name, it's not real Bitcoin.
It's not the same. It's a fork of it's a fork of the same chain.
But do you
it's
see the point I'm trying to make here is
it's still not.
We're all arguing over what is really Bitcoin, and that's my point is it's not recognizable. It's not clear in the marketplace
I don't think
which one's
anybody
real.
else is confused other than a few people who are proponents of BSV.
I don't know. I think that if you went out there and talked to a total newbie, they would be very confused by this.
And what's
if you talk to somebody who's never seen the euro, they might get confused about the euro too.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
What was the last thing the money had to be?
Point number 5 is stability.
Well, definitely Bitcoin is not stable.
The
it
value
goes up and down.
The value people place on.
So do fiat currencies, though.
They
the
do.
Canadian currency lost 40% of its value over like a couple of years relative to the U.S. dollar.
That's a good point.
When I say stable, I mean the U.S. dollar doesn't go up and down by 20% in an hour.
That's true. That's true. No doubt about it.
It doesn't. Okay, it can.
So I think that this is a mixed bag here as far as cryptocurrency meeting these 5 definitions of what is cryptocurrency.
I think what it comes down to, if you look at the reality of the situation, people are using it as money.
Whether or not, for sure.
Whether or not it meets this particular definition, they are using it as money.
No doubt about it.
And
I think it meets a lot of it better than government monies, as you've pointed out.
Yeah.
Well.
I mean, it works better. It just does.
All government money's tainted.
It is.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank you for listening, and it has been so wonderful coming back to the Shire, and I hope you come back again and
You
again.
should come back sooner rather than later.
And permanently.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back, TJ.
It's good to be back.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you being here. Again, check out freedomdecrypted.com for more of TJ tomorrow, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Time at freedomdecrypted.com. Meanwhile, we'll join you again tomorrow night, freetalklive.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
The latest episode of Questioning Authority is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.